We throw it down and we hold it up. Don't make a sound, I'll be pulling up and we pulling up so lit. See us on tour, we rage on stage.
Hey, coming to you live on tape from the home of Anarchy in the Streets, the Bronx, New York. It is the Upgrade. Looking out at all the flames out of my window as anarchy takes over, or so I'm told. I am joined by the one and only excellent king of men, Mr. Len Carmichael.
What's up, people? How you doing?
Is there any anarchy down by you?
Only in the UK, bro. There's only anarchy in the UK. No, there's nothing going on down here in Trenton, New Jersey. Like, literally, it's as if nothing has happened at all.
They're not like flipping things over in front of Starbucks or something?
No, there isn't even a Starbucks here, to be honest. In my entire town, there's not one Starbucks to be found. You got to go. You got to go one town in any direction to find a Starbucks. Not one in Ewing, because Ewing is a dead zone. And when I say a dead zone, I mean all industry moved out in '92 and nothing has come back. They're talking about building a town center, but it's kind of underway of construction, and I'm going to assume there will be a Starbucks in there finally, but it remains to be seen. The good thing is it's about 1 mile from the studio. So, you know, if somebody's at the studio and you want to scratch that itch, it may potentially be there, along with, 1,000 other businesses that will go out because there isn't going to be any money to support it. Anyway, so no.
That's our dose of positivity for the day.
I'm super positive today.
Speaking of positivity, we have a special guest on the show. We had made reference at one point when he was on the show that there was some time travel and he was going to actually make his debut the week after we discussed some UFC stuff, and then that didn't happen because of some technical issues. So
there was
now
a
through the
snafu.
wonders, it's blame computers. It's always computers.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame Canada. It's always blame Canada.
Canadian computers.
Blame you.
No,
Mr. Engineer Boy.
Fuck you. 100%. I'm not taking your shit today, so whatever. So welcome, John Wren.
Mr. Positivity, John Wren.
Thanks for coming back, John.
Oh, of course. I felt like we did this before.
We've never done this before. Stop it. Stop it. You're just being silly now. That didn't actually happen. That wasn't real. That was a dream that you both happened to have on the same day.
Yes.
I was not there, hence why it doesn't exist. So you both can fuck yourself. I don't care.
That would explain quite a bit.
Oh, man.
It's all in the mind.
I will tell you that there's like not a speck of hair between the three of us at this point. My head is like fucking bald. You're bald. He's bald. We're all bald on this goddamn show today.
But at least we have fucking perfectly shaped heads.
I mean, I would say that my head is probably shaped better than your head, fucker. So whatever.
Jesus.
I'm coming at you today because you told me ahead of time that you were coming for my throat. So I'm telling you right now, you better watch yourself.
I'm from Delco, man. My skin is thick as can be. I'm from the gathering of the Juggalos, like basically this fucking town. So you can't harm me.
Your skin is thick from that fucking that what is it? Gas thing like 2 feet from your house.
That's true.
Yo, didn't that blow up like a year ago?
No, they tore it down.
Well, like a year ago, there was an explosion there, though, wasn't there? Or was that somewhere else?
That was the Sunoco refinery up closer to the city.
Oh, okay.
Right past the airport.
Oh, see, I was thinking it was like literally right by your house, and I was kind of wishing that it was your house.
No, I wish it was the one across the street from my house because I would have got paid.
Oh, that's true.
Cha-ching.
So, John Wren, did you watch the UFC this weekend?
Of course I did. And I didn't give Uncle Dana a goddamn cent.
Me either. He can kiss my whole entire ass.
I was gonna say I'm not giving that motherfucker a single solitary dime because he's just another cocksucking Trump boot-licking motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, beyond that, I just think that he's kind of a shitty dude.
I mean, I always thought he was a shitty dude, but like, okay, but you know, maybe once in a while I might throw you a couple of bucks, but now I'm not giving you a single thin dime.
Not even one.
Not one.
You know, I won't divulge my sources, but I definitely do not pay to watch UFC. Well, at least the cards that require a direct payment. I do have Disney Plus / ESPN / Hulu, like one of those packages where I get all three. So I just took the plunge on that too because I was like, I was thinking of. I already had Disney Plus. I was thinking about Hulu, and then for the price, it's like I'm basically getting ESPN for free. So I was like, fuck it. Maybe I'll watch something once in a while. So, like, yeah, I'll stream the cards that are on ESPN Plus or whatever, but I'm not intentionally giving him any of my money for any of that.
Just to be spiteful, I may turn around and just go the other route just to be a dick. just to make sure, like, they don't even get the numbers.
Like, fuck it, not even gonna watch it.
Like, I'll watch it, but I'll find another way to watch it just on principle. Just because I mean, fuck Dana White.
All the time, all day, every day. So, you told me you were just finishing up watching this card.
Yeah. I only watched the top 2 fights.
That's the only fights you really needed to watch.
Okay.
That Roval or whatever the hell his name is, fight was good.
Yeah, that fight was good, but I mean that's a you could watch at any time fight. Yeah. Like, but all right, so I don't want to run down this whole card. That's not the point of why I want to talk about this. But Royval had a good fight. Diego Sanchez needs to fucking retire. He's needed to retire for years.
I can't believe he's still fighting.
He also looked like shit. Like physically looked like shit.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was when I was watching this.
I'm a little like I'm not in fight shape, and I was like, man, I am in better shape than Diego, and this guy gets paid for the shit.
Yeah. I mean, he literally looked like an old man fighting. Yeah. Like, it did look good. Like,
really that bad? Huh?
Do you remember when he was really the nightmare and he was in shape at 155? This looked probably 180.
He's gone
and cut to 170 just to make like the weight, and then just was. I mean, he looked like me without a shirt on. It was not good.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, for those guys to be as conditioned as supposed to be, he was really soft.
Yeah, it was bad.
And he was really slow.
Oh, it was rough to watch, bro.
Like, he tried to fight. I'll give him that. Like, I'll give Diego that. He goes out on his shield. Like, he will fight you, but he was just all sorts of slow. Like, right from the jump, I was like, man, this is going to be a long night or a short night, one of the two.
Yeah.
He just got beat up for 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even close. And then the other fight that I was kind of interested in ahead of time was the Ketlin Vieira versus Sijara Eubanks or whatever.
Yeah, that fight was a snoozer.
That fight was such a snoozer, and I was expecting Eubanks to come in and put the boots on this girl, and she definitely had nothing until like the middle of the 3rd round. And at that point, it was just too goddamn late. And I don't know if it was a case of the fact that she fought like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, you know, she was sort of in condition because, you know, you peak for the first fight and then you got to stay at peak shape for this fight in 2 or 3 weeks. And maybe she was just burnt out and she was worried about like blowing her gas tank out. I don't know. She just couldn't get it going, and it made for a really, really bad fight.
The only thing I liked about that fight was I think his name's Ryan Caffa. He's local. He like trains at a bunch of schools in Philly and Jersey. But he was in her corner, and he said at the end of the 2nd round, he's like, we're down 2 rounds, nothing. And you rarely hear a coach say, like, we're losing this fight, you need to go and do something. They're always like, oh, you're doing great, just stick to this, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was really honest with her and was like, you need to go out and go for broke. And he even said, he's like, I need some home runs in this one. And she went out and fought in the 3rd round. And I liked that aspect of the fight. And that was the only thing that I was, like, really took from that fight was that her corner was really honest with her and was like, "You're losing. You need to go try to do something."
See, I really think you need more of that, because I can't stand when you see somebody go into the corner in between rounds and they're like, "No, you're doing great. You're doing great." And they just sucked.
BJ Penn's corners used to be notorious for that. He'd be down like 3 rounds in a 5-round fight, and they'd be like, "Man, you just punch him in the face."
I hate that.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. Like, be honest. Tell him, just like what happened in this fight. Tell him, listen, you're down 2-0 right now. Like, you got to get your shit together. Because I've seen that happen so many times with coaches in the corner, and it's just, why are you lying to your guy or girl? Tell them the truth so that they can step the fucking game up, because they need to.
Yeah. So that Brandon Royval versus Kai Kara France, you know what? Going into that fight, I definitely had Kai Kara France as the winner in my head before I even saw the fight, and Royval really did impress me. And Gary, if you have a few minutes, you should check that fight out.
Yeah, I'll go back and I'm not going to bother with these other decision fights.
No, the rest of the card was kind of like meh. So just watch that fight.
Well, just for a second, let's go back and talk again about Diego Sanchez for a second.
Sure.
Because that dude has had, over the years, some real good fights.
Oh, yeah.
And
all right, don't get me wrong. I am a Diego Sanchez fan. Like, I'm not a super fan or anything like that, but I like Diego Sanchez. He just didn't look good in this fight.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see this fight, but just knowing his body of work over the years, he's had some really good fights. He's had some fights that were kind of but I mean, geez, when was he on The Ultimate Fighter?
Tough early number one.
Early 2005. So this dude has been going steady, because what kind of gaps has he had? I'm just looking at his whole 11, 12, 13, 14,
he hasn't really had
15,
any gaps.
16. He's had no gaps. Every year he's fought at least one fight. So you're talking about 15 solid years.
I mean,
and he's not a
honestly,
one-punch knockout type of guy. So he's putting miles on. Well,
you got to look back all the way, though, because from his first fight in 2002, since then he has had at least one fight for the last 18 years. For 18 years straight, he's fought at least once, and in most cases 2, 3, 4 times. So I got no problem with the man known as Diego Sanchez, and you're not even including all the fights that he had to do on The Ultimate Fighter.
In 2003 and 2004, he had 4 fights each.
Yep.
My God.
That's before he got to the UFC.
Right.
And honestly, you look at his run of people he's had to fight, and since he's got to the UFC, he has had basically like 2 people or 3 people that I'd be like, yo, that was kind of a bullshit fight. Meaning,
well, that's what I was going to say. It's not like they're feeding him cans either. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
Like, he's fighting guys that are like a who's who of like solid UFC fighters. Like, they're not necessarily top guys, but dudes that put in work.
One of the greatest fights of all time is Clay Guida versus Diego Sanchez. Bar none, that was like 2 cavemen just getting after it.
Well, Clay Guida is just a fucking madman.
And I remember I was watching that fight with some friends kind of out by the shore, and it was just like the way that they described it was that Clay Guida was like 3rd from the left when you're looking at the evolutionary chart, and then and then Diego was 5th from the left, and it was just like 2 cavemen just going after it for like 15 minutes or 25 minutes, however long that fucking fight was. But it was a great fight, and I think it's time. And I saw online he was trying to call out Conor McGregor. Bro, you're not fast enough.
Come on.
You're physically not fast enough.
Yeah.
By the way, did you ever?
Connor starches him within a half of a round.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Did you ever hear the story about Clay Guida and the UFC video game?
No.
You know, he wasn't in the game.
The first one, just the first one.
Yeah, and it was because they couldn't animate his hair.
Really?
They offered him a ridiculous amount of money to cut his hair because they wanted to put him in the game, and he was like, "Nope, won't do it. Won't do it." That's how much of a maniac that dude is.
Yo, I love Clay Guida.
He's great.
I'll tune in and watch him fight right now. Like, if you said, Clay Guida is in your backyard and he's about to fight some dude from the neighborhood, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go outside and watch this because it's always going to be entertaining.
I didn't see this. He fought back in June.
Who?
Clay Guida.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, I see it on here. I was wondering, is he still fighting?
Yeah, he's definitely
still signed
fighting.
with the UFC also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He lost Bobby Green.
Yep.
And, I mean, Bobby Green's a good fighter. It's not that big a loss. But both of these guys are long in the tooth. It's kind of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Guida's 38. Diego is
38.
Also 38.
They're both 38.
Yeah. And like we said, Diego has put the miles on.
Man, Clay Guida's put the fucking miles on, bro.
Oh, yeah. Well, Clay Guida is just... It's just insanity from the bell.
Again, you look at his time frame. He's been going hard since 2003. And there is no time frame in which he's taken more than a year off since 2003. So that's 17 years of at least one fight a year. He's got the miles, and he's not knocking people out.
Right.
Like, out of 55 matches, he's got 7 knockouts. That's, he's going to decision more often than anything else.
Yeah.
So, Jan Blachowicz smacked up Dominic Reyes, and I was like, where is the Dominic Reyes that came in and fought Jon Jones? Because that guy looked damn near unbeatable, and that guy did not arrive at the show at all.
Nope. Not at all.
What did you see, Wren?
I mean, yeah, I don't know what the hell he was like a deer in headlights in that fight. Like, I don't know if like he feared the punch too much. Like, maybe he didn't fear Jones's power because Jones isn't straight up like knocked anyone out. So he figured like, well, whatever, fuck it. Jones is going to hit me, but I'm not afraid to get hit by him. So that's why he fought him. Or do you like or is it one of those things where you rise to the level and like when you fight Jones, you come out as the best form because you're fighting the greatest fighter ever. And then he fought Blachowicz, who was like, just a, one of those like Polish pounders, like, and maybe just like, I don't know. Like my guess is that he feared the power because once he got kicked that first time, like that was it. He shut off.
Yeah. Did you see the bruise on his fucking ribs that showed up within 10 seconds of that?
Yeah, 2 kicks and his whole like back was like swelled up.
Yeah. No, that bruise on the side was just, by the end of the fight.
I was like, yo, if that was me, I was like, I'm
his
good.
His legs were just like.
I don't feel as bad for his ribs as I do his nose at the end of the fight.
Oh yeah, that thing was
yeah.
But almost punched it straight off his damn face.
Yeah.
But his legs just look like absolute shit.
Dude, the deer dance that he did, the baby deer dance he did when he got smacked up right at the end. I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, this fight is done.
Oh yeah.
There is no coming back from this.
Yeah, I popped big for that one. I'm sitting here by myself, just like, whoa, just watching the wobble.
So going forward, looking at this thing, I mean, he's Jan has tried to call out Jon Jones, which I don't think Jon Jones can be goaded back into coming back for one fight for no reason when he's already given up the title. Like, I don't see that happening.
Well, he made a post on Twitter that was like, you guys mind if I go get my belt back real quick? And then like an hour later, it's like, nah, I'm just kidding. Good for Jan, blah, blah, blah. Like, and that's how he left it.
Right.
Which I don't need to see Jon Jones fight in light heavyweight anymore. It's kind of pointless. Like, he'll probably beat Jan if they fought because he's just too versatile for him. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's always that punching power that,
yep.
You can lights can get put out, but I just see Jon running through him for 5 rounds. Jon needs to go up in heavyweight. Like, Jon needs a challenge. He needs to go fight some guys that are bigger than him that he's got to actually like work for. Like, I would love to see him fight Francis Ngannou first. And I mean, they've been calling each other out. So, they've been talking shit. So let them fight. But, he does earn the right to go fight Stipe first at this point. But I would rather see him fight a heavyweight, see how he does against an actual heavyweight, and then go for the champ. But
John Wren calling for the black on black violence. I see what's going on here.
To quote New Jack, black on black crime at its finest. But, yeah. I mean, do you really think that Jon Jones wants that smoke?
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He just has to run his mouth.
Of course.
I think he has I think the Stipe fight's probably the best fight for him. Or if he fights someone like Curtis Blades. I think he can outwork Curtis Blades. He can keep him on the outside. But, like, I think that the most, I don't want to say easy because Stipe's not an easy fight, but I would say if I had to use a word, like, if he'd be the easiest fight of those, like, big guys, because you have to remember Jones is coming up to fight these monsters.
He's an easier fight than Ngannou.
Well, I mean, the thing is, he can gas Ngannou out, but Ngannou, like, touches you once. Like, that's a power he has. That's a power he has to belt. So
right.
That's what I mean.
Ngannou touches you, and you are like an astral plane.
Yeah, you lose years. Like,
it was like the Doctor Strange movie when the soul just leaves the body.
Exactly.
He punches what's his face right out of the Hulk.
I mean, we all saw what he did to fucking Overeem. I mean, Overeem was legit airborne.
His head still hasn't landed.
Yeah.
It's still in orbit.
So, like, I have a problem, like, understanding exactly where Jon Jones stands because he doesn't carry knockout power at 205. Does staying at his, like, natural 225, 230 allow him to have actual knockout power, or are we going to see 5-round heavyweight fights, which notoriously are bad unless you're talking about DC and Stipe? Anybody else, it's just gas city. So that means, we'll basically see the same fights we're seeing at light heavyweight out of Jon Jones. If he just tires people out, he's going to win.
I mean, if you follow him online, like, he's working out, he's putting on weight. I wouldn't be surprised if Jon Jones is like 250 come time for his heavyweight debut, because he's trying to put on muscle, he's trying to put on the size.
Then is he going to be slower?
He'll definitely be slower. You're carrying more weight, you're going to be slower. But I still think he'll be versatile. He won't have to worry about a weight cut anymore, like, and that drains you. So, like, I think some of it will be made up, and they have to think that there's no real fast heavyweights. Like, Brock Lesnar was like a freak that was actually fast, but there's no really fast heavyweights. Like, Stipe's kind of fast. Overeem used to be fast, but he's not fast.
No, he's not fast now.
But there's no, like, even Ngannou's not fast. Like he just hits you, and it doesn't matter if you block it or not. Like,
right.
Like, so there's no real that I'm thinking of. There's no heavyweights that are like nimble on the feet. So I mean, he'll still probably be faster than most of them.
Okay. I just had a mild thought in my head that's kind of probably on the outside of what other people might be thinking. But Overeem, I think, weighed in at 248 for the last fight. So if he were to cut like 20 more pounds of muscle, and then do an actual weight cut, I'd love to see him face Jan and actually get a chance to take a UFC belt of some sort, because I think he could beat Jan.
Who's that?
Overeem? Yeah. If he could get himself back down to 205.
Yeah, but he likes that horse meat too much. So
yeah, fuck that horse meat shit. Fuck those steroids, bro. Like, chill on that. I mean, you're already in the 240s. If you could get into the 230s and then do a weight cut, I think he could show up and like actually be a force in a place where people may not just knock him out with one shot. Because his problem is he's fighting these dudes that are way too fucking big and his chin can't take it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because he's not beating Stipe, he's not beating Ngannou, so like he doesn't have a path to the championship. And this path to the championship is going to come up in another like 10 minutes when we get on to this next fight, because I got something to say. Any other thoughts on this fight other than?
No, I mean, going back to Jon Jones, I just think it really would depend on when his piss test is. Because if they test him late, it would be a very different fight.
Right.
But as I've said a million times before, I'm all for
let him do whatever.
Having one of those fights where anything goes. Let him sniff a whole 8-ball before he goes in and get wild.
Has a heart attack right there in the goddamn cage.
Well, yeah, I mean, your thing has always been Jon Jones versus a roided out Brock Lesnar. Just let them both. Just let them both do whatever they want and get in
Brock
there and just fight.
All the quote unquote horse meat and let Jon Jones just get sticky with an 8-ball and let the two of them just go. No,
just see where we end up at.
No restrictions. Just make it a false count anywhere. Just go all out. Fuck a cage. Just let him go. Let him go in a parking lot. Who cares?
I guarantee you, Brock Lesnar just picks him up and legit throws him out of the fucking cage.
I'll pay good money for that shit. God damn it. That'll be worth it. So
Adesanya beat the brakes off of Paulo Costa. I mean, absolutely beat the brakes off this dude.
I think he had jab. I think all Costa landed was like one jab.
Yeah, like fully.
It was very little.
Yeah.
How? My question is, how are you going to talk that much shit and not at least check one kick? Nothing.
You filmed that shitty promo with the fake Izzy. Like, what are you doing?
Bro, did you even prepare for this fight? Like,
I don't
legitimately, I don't think he had a game plan at all. Or the bright lights stunned him and he didn't know what to do with himself as soon as the cage door shut. He just froze.
Well, they said one of his game plans was patience, to not just go after him, because
going after him was the only thing to do.
Yeah, well, they thought that if they were patient, so that because it was a 5-round fight, that they would eventually catch him. But I'm like, you're basically fighting the new Anderson Silva. Like, the more time you give him, the more time he's going to figure out where your chin is, and he's going to knock you out, or he's going to hurt you a little bit.
Yeah, I remember them saying that on commentary, and I'm like, patience? Like, what the fuck is he going to wait for? Like, he's not going to gas out.
Get in his face. Yeah, I mean, Adesanya's not gassing out. Not on a 5-round fight in which you're not even attempting to take him down. He's not gassing out. So you need to get in his fucking face and actually do something. Like, literally just walking leg first into kick after kick after kick. I mean, I was watching his leg just endlessly bruise up, and I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, one of those kicks and I'm throwing the towel in, and this dude is just eating them, and then at some point you could see on his face he's like, all right, I made a mistake. And he could not recover from that mistake. As soon as he sat down on that chair the first time, you know he didn't want to get up. He's like, fuck that. I'm out of here.
Because his fucking knee was stiff. He didn't want to get up. He was like, I don't want to bend this again.
It seems so obvious to me that he did not have any kind of game plan when he walked in there. None. He was totally lost.
And I don't speak Portuguese, so I have no idea what his corner told him. But I'd be curious what his corner tried to tell him. Did they tell him to change his game plan? Because whatever they thought was going to work was not working in the first. I would have been like, okay, change plan. You got to do X, Y, Z. And I'm wondering if they told him that, or if they told him to like, oh, you're doing great. Like, keep sticking to the game plan. And then he got his ass knocked out.
I mean,
they just told him Portuguese.
I haven't seen such an embarrassing display of fighting in a championship fight since someone fought Anderson Silva. Like, and I'm not talking about any specific person, just talking about people going in to fight Anderson Silva and not understanding the depth in which the pool they jumped in was.
Yeah.
Like, even Anderson Silva fighting Adesanya was a better fight than this. And Anderson Silva was fucking old at that point. And we're talking about Costa is like in his mid-20s and should basically not be scared to get knocked the fuck out.
Right.
And Anderson gave Adesanya a good fight. And I'm sure Adesanya was taking it a little easy on him because it's kind of his hero. And like, he didn't want to embarrass the old man, but it was still an actual good fight. This was just a fucking embarrassment.
Oh, it was so bad.
As I said, I was going to come back to this idea of where do they go now? Costa before the fight is like, hey, I could go up to 205 and fight if I wanted to, but 185 is my home. All right, well, I just watched this fight. You barely beat Yoel Romero, and now you just got run through by Adesanya. There is no more path to a championship. They're not going to put you in another fucking championship fight unless you rattle off 6-7 fights in a row again.
Yeah, you got like 2 years.
I think that top, so Cannonier should be next, or what's his face, Hermanson. Yeah, like they're the next two. I would like to see Cannonier fight next, but he's got to beat Whitaker.
Right, which is a tough task.
But if you put Costa in there with like Gaslam or Hermanson, like and he beats like those two, or Whitaker, or he fights Whitaker, like he has a path back there, but you're still looking like 2-3 fights before you can get back in there. And that's, who knows what's going on at that point? Who knows who won? Is Izzy even still the champion at that point? Like, things can change, I think, if Izzy loses.
But if Izzy is still the champion,
yeah,
there's you can't book that fight again because he already talked himself into that fight once, and nobody's going to buy it second time. So the bald
he didn't even come close to delivering.
Right, that bald fuck will not be like, yo, this is the fight to book, because he knows it's not going to bring any money whatsoever. Right. So then on the flip side of that coin, taking his statement about being able to go up to 205, yo, bro, if you couldn't handle Adesanya, you're not stepping in there with Jan Blachowicz. You're not stepping in there with Reyes if Reyes actually shows up. Either one of them run through you, and I think Johnny Walker goes through you.
Thiago Santos beats him.
Yeah, so like, you got no path to a championship. I think at this point, I'm not going to say other sports beckon, but like, you got some thinking to do about what your fucking plan is going forward, because you shouldn't be planning to be the champion.
Well, the good thing is he's young. That was his first loss.
It was so bad.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got some work to do.
Yeah, he's gonna have to beat some killers before he. And I was looking at his thing because someone was trying to say like, oh, well, they're basically even. I'm like, nah, man, Izzy's run through like a murderer's row the last couple of fights. Yeah. Like, and Costa's biggest fight was Romero, which you can argue he lost that fight.
I think he lost the fight too, but it is what it is. So looking at it, I don't see I don't see him getting back. I actually see him backsliding. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him lose the next 2 or 3 fights he fights, for that matter, just based on the mental wear of losing this fight so badly. If he bounces back, he bounces back. But I don't know. I kind of saw a broken man.
I mean, if he doesn't bounce back, he's done.
Right.
Which is crazy because he's 29 years old.
Yep. I mean,
it shouldn't be the end for him at that age, but
I will say that at least they didn't Sukuju him in the fact that, you know, before he even got to a championship, that they screwed up his trajectory. At least he got to the championship fight before he took a really embarrassing loss.
Right.
And it remains to be seen, but I don't see a path to a championship at this point for that dude.
I think the only thing that helps him is his age, and because for some guys it's like in 2 years you're not going to be fighting anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 years from now, you know, if he puts the work in and stops bullshitting, maybe he's got another chance, but he better get his shit together and either make some coaching changes or camp changes or whatever, because the way he went into that fight was fucking embarrassing.
Just he needed an actual plan. Secondarily, I do want to talk about Izzy humping him after winning. That was kind of a little bit across my line of what is acceptable. I mean, I get that, you know, there was a lot of shit talk and, you know, gamesmanship.
He also told his manager that he was going to come all over him. So,
right.
Which I think that little pipsqueak manager that Costa has, who's also Henry Cejudo's manager, is a fucking like asshat. So I'm okay with him saying that because I don't really care. That dude,
I don't care about the words. It was more about like in the actions of physically humping my man after you just knocked him out. Like, have a little decorum, please.
Yeah.
Say what you want afterwards. I don't care what you say. Saying things is one thing.
On one side, I understand that, but on the other side, you know what? If you talk all that shit, then fuck it. Teabag the motherfucker and the fucking... I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, dudes talk shit. It's like, you get what's coming to you.
So,
you know?
Last UFC thing I really want to talk about is Colby Covington talking racial nonsense to Usman, and the bald fuck not like condemning it, and basically saying, hey, I don't tell the fighters what they can and cannot say, when clearly a line has been crossed, at least in my mind.
Well, and that's bullshit anyway, because they didn't they give Matt Mitrione the boot or suspend him for saying something transphobic a while ago. So I mean, so it's bullshit that he doesn't let the fighters Ronda Rousey. Well, I mean, Ronda Rousey was his cash cow at the time, but she said some shit too, and he was like, "Well, I wish she wouldn't say." At least he said I wish she didn't say that. But this one, he's just nah. I'm but I think it's because it's all that MAGA shit. They're both Team Trump. So he's
that's exactly what it is.
Boy.
That's exactly what it is. Because in Trump's America, that stuff is fine.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
Yeah, there's no, anti-trans. Okay, he's gonna catch a lot of shit, but anti-black. He thinks it's gonna help him. So it's all good. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see. Fucking bootlicking asshole.
See, I don't think Colby Covington understands the how things really work. We all were in on it when Chael Sonnen would say dumb shit to the Brazilians or whatever, because he always kind of gave the camera a little wink, a little nod.
Yeah, it was always a work.
I'm just working the angles here, and whatever, we're having fun with this, and I'm just trying to make some money. Colby Covington should probably watch his back in public, because somebody's gonna jump him or shoot him. People will fuck with you if you continue down this road. like stupid shit. I don't think people understand just how bad the world is getting, and this is just part of it. And I don't really personally care for the kid, but I think he's treading in water he doesn't even really understand.
Well, because Uncle Dana is probably telling him, go for it, man. It's
good
cool.
job out there.
But is Uncle Dana going to give him a fucking security detail?
Probably not.
I hope not, because I'd like to see him get smacked on the street.
And that's the unfortunate thing is he's not going to learn until something like that happens. And does he even learn? Like, because if this is the work, like they're saying, like everyone's saying, like, oh, he's not really like that. If you catch him in the gym, he's like a completely different person. He's humble. He works with everyone. He probably is a Trump supporter, but he's not like this arrogant, like dickhead that he plays when he's in the UFC. If it's a joke to him, if it's just a character that he's playing, the only way he's going to learn that there's ramifications is someone fucking cold cocks him like, oh, you're Colby Covington, and just fucking just takes one for the team and socks this dude. Like, or like, and I don't want to see the fucking kid get like murdered, but like, or like if someone does do something really crazy and like tries to, make a statement by taking out Colby Covington because he's a, celebrity racist. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, for Covington to come from ATT, where it's, a completely mixed bag of races and ethnicities and, where you're coming from, to say all that shit, like, it's, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how he has teammates.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. I don't understand why people willfully would accept that in the gym, even if it is a work. Like, somebody should have kind of pulled him back just a few steps, or at least been like, hey, make it a little obvious that this is kind of a work, at least.
Yeah.
Because right now it doesn't feel like a work. And even if it is a work, it's ugly. Like, I don't need this kind of ugliness to sell me a fight. Like, Adesanya saying he wants to fight Cannonier, and he's like talking the guy up. He's like, yo, this guy's a killer and I want to fight him. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just bullshit.
It is bullshit. It's gimmick bullshit. I don't like it. I've always said, like, if I want to watch pro wrestling, I'll watch pro wrestling. Like, all this bullshit gimmick shit in UFC and MMA in general, I don't like. But with this, it's a whole other thing, because you're right. Somebody should have smartened the kid up and said, yeah, maybe you want to ease back on that a little bit. But
just a little.
But, Dana's not doing that, because Dana wants him, he's going to be Dana's little poster boy. Like, because am I wrong, or has Trump posted something supporting Colby?
Yeah,
he fucking called him on the phone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there you go. So now he's Trump's little bitch boy fighter. So, they're just going to keep running with that gimmick because they think it's going to help them. And Dana's going to keep pushing it, and Colby's all about it. So,
it just seems so forced. Like, I'm okay if the person's a fucking, like, psychopath like Tyson was back in the day when he was, like, telling people he's going to eat their children and shit.
Yeah,
but he was, like, that was for real. Like, Tyson was nuts. Like that got me fired up, because I was like,
I'm going to fuck you till you love me.
Yeah, exactly.
This dude was, like, a little out there. So, like, and then he backed it up. Like, Covington just, saying stuff about, like, smoke signals. And I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, all right, the shark has been jumped. Like,
yeah, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mike Tyson, that fight, I cannot wait for that fight, but I'm still worried about what I'm gonna get.
I don't know. Watching him practice is like, whoa.
Even Roy was like, maybe I fucked up on this one. Like, he's Roy Jones is like, maybe I shouldn't have taken this fight. But
I mean, so I was watching an interview with Mike Tyson, and he's saying that when he shot that first set of, like, footage with Cordero, that he ended up sitting in bed for like 4 days afterwards trying to recover from like 2 minutes of explosiveness, because like they ran the cameras for like 10 minutes maximum and just got a bunch of footage, and then he was already wore out. So I think the reason they pushed the fight back is because he knew he needed an actual like 16-week camp to actually get in shape.
Says that, he said that on Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was saying that when he shot that, he said that was day one of him getting back in the gym. He said that originally it was like he felt, he was like, oh, I'm overweight. He's like, pants weren't fitting and this, that, and the other thing. And his wife was like, get on the treadmill, like go on the treadmill. And he's like, it started for like, 15 minutes on the treadmill and ended up becoming like 2 hours on the treadmill. And then someone came up to him and was like, hey, for like X amount of dollars, would you fight this guy? And then he said, like, nah, that's crazy. Wait, who is it? Like, he said all of a sudden that itch started coming. And he said the first day that he was with Rafael Cordero was the day that they shot that first footage. And he's like, I'm back. And then like he's like, no, I was back in bed. Like, that's But he said now that he's in the camp, he's like getting conditions. Like he says he's in shape, which is clear. I mean, the dude's.
Yeah, I mean, he looks great.
He looks amazing. Yeah. But now he's getting conditioned. And he said, and it sounded like he was ready to fight in whenever it was supposed to be, but they pushed it back because of COVID.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. The footage looks fucking dangerous. Like full on. Like, no, thank you, 50-some-year-old man. Don't hit me, please. Like keep my jaw.
Yeah, Rafael Cordero was saying prayers that whole time. Like every time.
He's like, please don't clip me. Don't miss.
Don't miss the pad.
Yo, imagine holding pads for that dude. Like, your hands got to be fucking killing you.
I don't even want to think about it.
No.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna stand here and he's gonna hit these fucking pads and break all my bones in my hand through the fucking pad.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. It really is.
Like, if he has to bring in some fucking sparring partners, like, hey, go in there and spar Mike Tyson. Like, yo, no.
Are you giving me $1 million for this sparring session?
Yeah, how many people, they probably don't tell you who it is. They're like, yeah, I need you to spar with somebody.
Oh, sure, I'll be there.
They show up at the gym and look and walk right the fuck out.
To like, nah, I'm good.
Like, yo,
I enjoy living and breathing and not being like, incapacitated.
They're like, see, what had happened was I said yes, but I meant no. I gotta go.
You didn't tell me it was him.
They're like, I heard my mama calling. I gotta go home right now.
Yeah, I got an emergency.
Jesus.
My kid is sick. I need to run home like right now.
right now.
Right now. I don't know.
So what's been up in the world of John Wren?
The world of John Wren? Nothing much, really. Been working. I've been not training for races since they're all fucking canceled. I am going to a concert, though. I am going to a show.
Are you going to sit in your car?
No, I'm going to stand in front of my car and get soaked with fake intergalactic space jizz. And,
what, are you going to see Gwar or something?
Yeah, Gwar's playing Richmond. They're doing an outdoor like drive-in show or whatever. But
no shit.
I bought tickets in the spew zone. So I'll be up front and center getting soaked with all their assorted fluids.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It'll be the first show since February that I've been to. It'll probably be the last show I'll go to for the whole year, I assume.
I have yet to ever see Gwar. Like, they played This Is Hardcore, and I was kind of there, but that was
the only time I saw them.
Really?
And I've never seen them any other time.
This will be the 46th time that I've seen them.
Really?
That's too many times by like 46.
I saw them at the Troc in '96 the first time, and I had no idea what the fuck I was getting myself into. I just knew of them from Beavis and Butthead. So I went and saw it, and I think I knew like 2 songs. Like I think I knew I heard Saddam a Go-Go and maybe Sick of You, like the 2 like hits at the time. Went and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like hooked ever since, and I've never missed them in this area. And I've seen them in Richmond. I've seen them up in Boston. I saw them at the old Birch Hill, and they were hitting the back wall with their like goo. Like,
Muttley, have you ever been did you ever go to the Birch Hill back in the day?
I went there 2 or 3 times. I saw Warrant there once.
Okay.
And I saw Testament there.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And I think, I don't remember if it was the same show, but I also saw Anthrax there. I may have been there another time that I can't remember.
I've seen all kinds of random stuff at the Birch Hill in my life. Well, it's gone now. Rest in peace, Birch Hill. But I mean, anything from Goldfinger straight on through to like Fear Factory. I've seen pretty much everything at that location, including dumb hardcore bands and punk bands and pretty much anything you can think of. I remember I saw the worst band that's ever existed there. Puya. I saw Puya there. They were on some show with some other band, and I was just like, yo, this is fucking terrible.
You know what's fun? I got a funny story about Puya. So there was a commercial on like the box, if you remember the box.
Yep, yeah. I remember the box.
So there was a commercial on the box, and they played they were like, oh, here's all these like new songs that are coming on there. And the Puya song that they played, there was like 15 seconds. But I was like, man, that was a really cool thing. And I never saw the video. And I was like, one day I was in Best Buy, and I was like, well, fuck it. That 30 seconds sounded awesome. Maybe the rest of the CD. I bought the CD like blind. And
Roadside Records.
Oh, yeah.
I literally didn't get out of the parking lot, and I went back in and tried to return it.
You're like, not sim for me.
Yeah, it was awful. And I don't know where, and I think I traded into like one of the disc exchange in like the local, and the guy was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's great. I just don't have any room in my CD thing. And I was like, oh, okay. I think he probably gave me $1 for it.
It was the best dollar you ever got.
Yeah.
That disc is probably still there.
That disc is someone's fucking soda coaster.
Even if that place is out of business, the disc is still there. They buried it under the fucking spot.
So, John, tell me what I want to know is 5 of the worst bands that you've ever had to suffer.
5 of the worst bands I've ever seen. An Albatross would probably be the number 1. That was like some of the worst shit that I've ever seen in my life.
So every time I see that name, an Albatross, I read it all fucked up, and I see it as anal bat Ross.
Yeah, sure. That's probably what it is too. I saw that.
What it sounds like.
And the fucked up thing is, I saw an Albatross open up for Wesley Willis.
And they were worse than Wesley Willis.
Yeah, at least Wesley Willis was entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, rest in peace to Wesley Willis. I mean, he was funny.
Yeah. So, an Albatross was really bad. Who the fuck else was like terrible? There was some band there was like half the bands on Ozfest were terrible, but there was some band particularly that like I got into like a shit talking match with while they were on stage. There was a band called Pure Rubbish. They played the third. They played the third stage on Ozfest. They weren't even good enough to play the side stage. They played like the
wow. That means the label only paid a couple $100.
Yeah, and man, there were some. I try to like forget a lot of the like bad bands that I've seen.
Because all those Ozfest bands all paid to be on there after like the first year.
Yeah, I only found that out later when A Life Once Lost was on there. There was like that year that like half the side stage was like hardcore bands.
Right.
Yeah.
And hanging out with the dudes in Full Blown Chaos and A Life Once Lost, I was like they like basically let it slip that their label was like, yeah, they paid for us to get on here in hopes to like recoup through like album sales and this, that, and the other.
Oh yeah, they did that with a lot of bands. They did that with Sworn Enemy. They did that with But like your label is paying so that you could play at like 10 a.m. on the third stage.
Yeah,
it sucks. The whole model sucks.
Well, Sharon Osbourne.
So, What you're saying is you've seen some bad. Well,
I've played with some really bad bands.
Any you'd like to name?
That whole, well, you were there. That whole lineup of shit that we played with. Well, we didn't even get to play because they blew the
bro,
PA
that was
out.
the worst show.
Yeah.
Yo, and I see, like, why didn't we whoop every single one of their asses at that show for fucking us over so hard?
Well, we did get paid $200.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Tell this whole story.
So we booked a show up in. It was supposed to be in like Worcester. It was like, I don't think it would, and it got moved to like Bumblefuck, Massachusetts. It was in like a fish and tackle lodge. It was weird. It was like 8 bands that didn't make sense, and we headlined, which we totally should not have headlined. And we even told the promoter when we got up there, because we saw these people that were there specifically for the band that played before us. We're like, yo, you should let us play before them. And he was like, no, they don't want to play before you. I want you to be my headliner, blah, 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 blah. And we were like, all right, like, if you say so, you're paying us money, and
Hold on 1 second. We played the Hideout the night before in Brooklyn. So we did Brooklyn and then we did Massachusetts. And the show in Brooklyn was fucking shitty too. Like, at
the Hideout
at least there was friends there, so it was kind of fun. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily a great show.
No, it was a bad show. But
it was the Hideout. It's a little tiny fucking hole in the wall.
Yeah. And like you're playing next to the bathroom. Anyway, so we head up to this show the night, like after we play the Hideout, we head up to Massachusetts, and I'll let John take it from here for a minute.
So basically, we get there. There's 8 bands. One of them's like a fucking sludge band. None of the bands had tuners, so they're all like live tuning. It was terrible.
Tuning song all day.
Yeah. And then, so like we get to the band before us, and our drummer goes up to the promoter and was like, "You should let us play before these guys. Like, it feels like this would be just a smart move on your part." And the dude was like, this kid was not having it. So we're like, all right, fine, we'll play last. It doesn't matter. We'll play in front of 5 people. Like, you're paying us and we're here. So the band before us, everyone goes apeshit because it's like all friends with them. They blow the PA. Like, it literally catches on fire.
Oh.
So we set up while they try to fix the PA. It doesn't work. I'm fucking furious, and I was always the one that was like, nah, this is a good idea. Like, I was always the optimist. I'm fucking furious. I'm like, let's just fucking leave. We got the money. Let's just go. They set up to play. They played 2 songs while I'm going to get the van, because I'm not even fucking playing. I'm not singing. You guys can play instrumental. I backed the van up to the fucking door. As soon as I backed the van up to the door, I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. It was terrible. It was like the worst. And every band that played that day, I don't even remember any of their names. But none of them were good.
Yeah. And like everybody, we sold a bunch of shirts that day too. Like, I think we sold like 10 shirts at a show that we didn't even play, and we got paid $200 to be there. But we still had to drive all the way to the middle of fucking nowhere, Massachusetts to do it.
That fucking pizza shop, which was the only thing in the world to eat around there, was dog shit.
Yeah, so it was terrible. I mean, literally, it felt like that town felt like you were rolling into like the town outside of where Friday the 13th was set. Like, literally, it was like you were in the town next to it, and like the pizza shop had the feeling like it was like 1981. Like, you walked in and nothing was new at all. That they were serving ice cream, but I think it was ice cream from 85. And it was just like, it just was all bad. Everything about the town was bad. Everything about the show was bad. And I feel like Vince only maybe played one more show after that. And that was part, like, not necessarily, he was already planning to leave, but there wasn't much left in the tank for us as a band after that.
Yeah, that was our last, like, that was our last, like, out, like, the last time we left the area. Yeah. And I think because Vince was like, fuck doing that again.
Yeah. By the way, we're talking about Bottom Feeder. If you are not sure, if you're listening, like, we're just talking about the trials and tribulations of being in one of the best worst bands of all time. I mean, God. So Gary,
the greatest band you've never listened to.
Yeah, we were plagued by a number of issues. Number one, we had 2 addicts in the band, and one of which we weren't even sure was one until he proved out that he was, and then the other one we kind of knew he was, but we thought he was holding it together, and he wasn't.
Right.
I mean, literally, we were playing a show in Atlantic City, and this motherfucker nodded out in the middle of a song.
Oh.
Literally, just like fell into the wall while we're playing a song. Like, we were cursed as a band just to like bad decisions in general, and like even when we righted the ship and got good players in to like fill in or join the band, etc., the writing had already been on the wall. Unfortunately, like any of the momentum that we had going was lost due to like bad performances or not really like following through on showing up to shows, showing up half a band, half in the bag. It was just like a mess, and we had such good material. It really bugged me. Like, I love doing bands with John Wren. I'm looking forward to maybe doing this Selfish Lover thing in the future if COVID ever fucks all the way off. But it's like that was a lot of fun, and it could have been a lot more fun if everybody was on board at the right time.
Of course. Well, so hold on. So let's.
John Wren, did I sum that up correctly?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. We were our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
Well, dealing with some of that shit is never fun. But let's loop back, because let's go back to the original question of terrible bands that you've seen. Because I want to hear some more of these, because I know I've got many.
Do you want to hear mine?
Oh, I can add one. That fucking band Scrape. So and they were magnified on how bad they were. So they played that Pantera Slayer tour.
Okay.
And it was like,
yeah.
So it was Morbid Angel, Scrape, Static X, who's awful as well, then Slayer and Pantera. And the way it was billed is that Morbid Angel was playing second, but they actually played first. So when half of us were in the parking lot trying to avoid seeing this fucking band Scrape, we missed Morbid Angel. We literally walked in it being like, "Thank you, good night," and we were like, "Oh, cool." And then
God damn it!
And Scrape is so bad that we were so mad that we missed Morbid Angel that it made Scrape even worse.
And you know what that is, right? That's label politics bullshit. Or like management politics bullshit, because that shit always happens.
Well, that was
I've
like the
seen
same.
bands try to pull that, and then I've also seen bands try to pull that and get shut down, which is always fun.
I'm trying to think of like other bad bands. Like, who are bad bands I've seen? Ugh. Oh, you know who's fucking? They're not. They play the music fine, but I would rather fucking kill myself than ever see them again. Is that Badfish, the fucking Sublime tribute band?
Yeah.
So I've worked their shows. Like, so 2008, 2009, I worked at the Truck. So there's some like bands I've seen working that I'm like just completely forgetting about. Like, Saliva's terrible. I worked one of those shows.
God.
But Badfish played, and they bring out like a worse crowd than Sublime does, and they're a cover band. Like, how does that happen? Like, that maybe they're not bad because they play the songs right, but like I was like trying to convince myself not to throw myself off the balcony. I was having like an inner like moment being like, should I just do it?
God.
I think if I sat down and thought about all the bands I saw, I could probably come up with like a really like horrendous list of bands that I've seen. Oh, here's one. I'll admit this one. This is the ultimate. So I got to preface it. I have a friend of mine that I've known for my entire life that he had a bunch of social anxiety in high school. But he loves music. He's a lover of like all genres from, top 40 to Cannibal Corpse. He really loves Creed.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He really wanted to go to that concert, and he would not go alone. And I knew he liked them. So as a good friend, I was like, fuck it, I'll go to the show with you. Like, if that's what's going to get you in the door to see this band that you love, I don't want you missing out on the experience. I will go with you. I will never get that night back.
Okay.
I regret it. Like I don't regret it for the fact that he had a great time, but it was a really bad experience.
So I have a really bad Creed experience too. So Andy, who's been on the show twice, on 2 episodes for like political stuff, around the time I was turning 21, he was really into Creed. I was not into Creed at all. I thought it was cheesy. But it was the night before I was turning 21. So I was 20, and at midnight I was turning 21. And they were playing at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City. So I was like, let's go to Atlantic City. Fine, I'll go with you. You know, you can go in and watch Creed, and I'll fool around and, like, go gamble. I get caught gambling at 20, and they're like, you're not 21 yet. You got to get out. So, like, he's in the show. I get snagged for being too young, and then I try to go to the show, and they're like, well, since you're not 21, you can't get in because we don't have a non-drinking section. And I'm like, come on, bro, I'm straight edge. I'm not going to drink. My friend's in here. There's 3 people watching Creed. Literally 3 people inside. Him and a couple, like, literally watching Creed, because it was like before they broke. And I'm like, let me just go in, and they're like, nah, we can't. So it was like 11:50, and they're about to go into their encore, and the guy's like, all right, come on, dude, you're gonna be 21, I'll get you your first shot. And I was like, I don't fucking drink. He was like, I thought you were just kidding me. And I was like, no, I'm not kidding you. I sat in this hallway. I can't go gamble. I can't go anywhere because it's fucking the middle of November and it's cold outside, so I can't even wander on the fucking boardwalk alone. I'm stuck in this dumbass hallway between a casino and the Hard Rock Cafe, where this dumbass show is going with these fucking assholes playing terrible music, and you won't let me in because you think I'm trying to get you in trouble for being an underage drinker. And he's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, whatever. And he was like, you know what, don't even pay, just go in. So I walk in, and it's literally the worst music on earth.
It's bad.
I
saw a full production fucking
I didn't
show.
see full production. I mean, they had like a mini production going on, but I mean, they were playing on the floor of the Hard Rock Cafe to now 4 people and the bartenders. And like, Andy's all talking to like Mark Tremonti and whoever else is in the band at the time, and like getting autographs on his CD, because he worked at the radio station. So he heard all this like random bad music beforehand, and he was like all stoked on it, and it was legitimately the worst night of my life. And I turned 21 standing there watching Creed, and I will never live that down. So that's my horrible story, but they didn't even make my list. I wrote a list out while we were talking here, so just so I don't forget anybody.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. If I had like thought about it, if you were like, "Hey, come with me with the 5 bands," I would have like. But you put me on the spot, so I'm just like, as it's coming to me, I'm like, "Oh, I saw this bad band too."
I only work on the spot questions, bro. So I didn't have anything planned out. For me, I'm gonna piss some people off potentially while I'm listing out, and this is specifically performances that I watched. Like, I may not like the band either, but like, this is shit I sat through that, as you said, made me want to throw myself off the balcony. So, number 1, Electric Hellfire Club. They played at the Troc with Coal Chamber and Typo Negative for their Halloween show.
Oh, the night that everyone sat down during Coal Chamber. Continue.
Yes. I was there for Typo, mildly for Coal Chamber because it was, I don't know, 98 or whatever. And like, I watched it and it was fine. But Electric Hellfire Club was legitimately the absolute bottom of the barrel worst set I've ever sat through. And if you have a chance, look them up online. It will disappoint you, but you will not be disappointed.
I saw them open up for Danzig at the Electric Factory.
Who, Electric Hellfire Club?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
It's bad.
Like high level bad.
Yeah.
Did they have the whip? it's the Whip, and like they're like,
yeah.
No, trust me, bro, it's bad.
I'm lucky I managed to avoid this.
Bro, it's bad. So number 2 on my list, Clutch. There is nothing more boring in person than Clutch. I don't even like it on recording yet, but I cannot do it. There's nothing about that band that interests me at all. And then watching it live is literally like shoving nails in your dick. It's not. No, absolutely not for me. I would I'd rather cut my ears off than sit through another set.
I'm surprised by this. I'm not their biggest fan, but I do like a lot of their stuff, and I wouldn't.
I got dragged to see Clutch once because they were playing the Truck, and a former friend of mine was able to get in for free. We saw a show at the TLA and basically like hightailed over to the Truck after the I don't even know who the hell we saw at the TLA, but we saw someone at the TLA and then we hightailed it over to the Truck to catch Clutch as the headliner, and that's another hour and a half that I'd like to have back. Like they were boring. Like there's some of the old shit when they were like, I don't want to say they were hardcore because they were never a hardcore band, but like that first record stuff is I can like tolerate. Yeah. They played one song off it in the middle, and then they immediately went back to that fucking weird like bar rock shit that they've been playing for the last years.
Yeah, see, I like the older stuff more. I don't hate them. I haven't seen them live in a long time, like since the early days, but. I don't know.
This is late 90s, early 2000s, and
that's when they started doing the rock stuff.
I was done. I was done immediately. Like they kicked into their songs, and I was just like, nope, absolutely not. On the same show, I also saw Life of Agony with Whitfield Crane, and that is number 3 on my list.
Wow.
And that was fucking really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen the LOA in various stages from the beginning till now, and them with Whitfield Crane is easily number 3 on my list of holy shit, why am I standing here? And it was like back-to-back bangers of horribleness literally went Clutch, LOA, and I think Megadeth was the headliner on that show, and that was the only high point.
We may have talked about this before, but it's insane how little footage or audio or anything there is of that era.
Yep.
That for some reason
it just got wiped away.
It like there might be like 2 things on YouTube, but that's it.
But the less, the better.
Yeah, I saw that at Ozfest, the Whitfield Crane Life of Agony set.
No,
that was the only time that I heard it because I didn't go to Ozfest that year, but some radio station or something had like a live broadcast, so I heard them with him, and that's the only time I heard it until like somebody recently put up like 1 or 2 YouTube videos. But
yeah, if I never see or hear it again, it would be too fucking soon. So
yeah, it's definitely weird.
Number 4 on my list. The Blue Meanies, they're a ska band, and they're really fucking bad. They played at the Truck on Ska Against Racism, and they've been on other shows, and anytime they're on a show, I would skip it. I would go to the show, and I would like wait outside and be like, yo, I can't go in until they're done, because it's literally like nails on a chalkboard. Can't do it. And number 5... and this is the one that's probably going to really twist some pants, Blink-182. I can't stand either of their voices, and I don't understand why anybody liked it. But an ex-girlfriend of mine was really a big, huge, super fan, and she was like, please come see with Blink-182 with me. And I'm like, fine, I'll do it. I'll suck it up, and I'll come with you. And I wanted to die the entire time they were on stage. I don't like them as a band, but I really don't like it live at all.
They were a band I liked years ago, and if someone puts on that one record, Dude Ranch or whatever, I'm like, some of the nostalgia can kick in for me, but that's it. Like if that shit came out today, it would be garbage. But I saw them live, and even live, like I'm like, it's kind of funny, but they're all like pee pee poo poo jokes, like in between songs, and like by the time they get to like the 12th song, and every time that they're in between songs, and their banter is just like literally like toilet humor, you're like, all right, I'm over it.
Yep.
And that was even like, I haven't seen Blink-182 playing shit almost.
It's been over 20 years.
Well, it was. So Diane and I have been together for 16 years, so it's probably been 15 years since the last time I saw them.
Okay.
So, and even then, I was like, the last time I saw them was like, And I don't like any of their records that they like. The last like 4 records they've put out.
I don't even know how many records they've put out because it doesn't matter. They're all trash. Band's trash. Like anybody who's listening to me and likes them, you have trash opinions on music. They're fucking terrible. So my honorable mention, Vision of Disorder, circa leather pants.
That was bad.
It's just bad. Like, there was a moment in time where Vision of Disorder couldn't do any wrong at all. And then they dropped Imprint, and I was like, this is not very good. And then they started wearing leather pants and thinking they were rock stars because they had hung out with Phil Anselmo for a little while. And yeah, it was really exceptionally bad, and it just continued to get worse. And I don't think it's ever gotten better.
Was that after the next record?
That was around From Bliss to Devastation, yes. Because
that record was...
that was toilet water.
The fucked up thing about that was, so when they played, it was Sepultura, VOD, and Earth Crisis.
I remember that tour.
And I was there.
And that was the show. Like, Earth Crisis came out, they did their thing, and everyone fucking
ate murdered.
VOD comes out, and he came out in the leather pants, and that record hadn't dropped yet. But they played, I don't know, they played like 10 songs, and like 6 of them were from that record. And
that was the Imprint tour.
Yeah, but it was right before From Bliss to Devastation. Yeah. And everyone was like, what the fuck are these songs? And then it was crazy because they played like Element and people went ape shit. And I'm like, how do you, like, I've never got that about a band. Like, I get wanting to play your new stuff, but when you see the old songs having people like kill each other, maybe you should like tweak the set list like in the moment.
You're let's play some old songs.
Yeah. That was bad. That was really bad.
Yeah. And so those are my top 5 with an extra little sprinkle on top of like holy shit. And I would say that also Cave In, when they made the switch to being a rock band but they were still playing metal-ish tours, it wasn't a bad show. I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, that came out of left field when it happened.
It just was like weird. So yeah, those are mine. What about you, Gary? You got any bad shows on your list?
I could tell you a few. I don't necessarily have 5, but they might come to me as I'm doing this. Before that, I'll tell you a weird story about something that I thought that I would hate, and I didn't like it, but it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was. Ex-girlfriend of mine was big into the Insane Clown Posse and got free tickets, and I was just like, fine, I'll go. And so we go, and I didn't pay attention to who's opening, anything like that. And go to the Hammerstein Ballroom. Curtain opens. First band is Biohazard. And I'm just like, what the fuck? and she's like, you know these guys? I'm like, yeah. And we're sitting up in the first balcony, and I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of cool watching Biohazard. And of course, the crowd not digging it.
Yeah, they weren't ready for it.
So curtain closes, they're done. Curtain opens up again. Suicidal fucking tendencies.
So you went to a great show.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what the fuck is... What'd you say, John?
So it's a great show that had a shitty headliner.
Yeah. And listen, Clown Posse, I'm not a fan. I will give them this. They go song, like no breaks. They give you your money's worth. They must have done like 30 songs that night. Songs are shit, but if I was a fan, that would be cool,
So I got a story for you. I went to that same tour in Philadelphia. So my friend Bill Henn was like, yo, I really want to go see Insane Clown Posse. Will you go with me? And I was like, well, who is playing this show? And I looked it up, and it's like Biohazard Suicidal. I was like, yes, I will go with you to that show. So, we roll into the show, and I immediately just start beating on Insane Clown Posse fans during Biohazard. I was just, I guess it was like 99 or 2000. So what was I, like,
around there?
I was mid-20s, and I had no fear of like hurting myself at a show. So, you take that angle, it's fair game. And I knew all the bouncers at that point at the Electric Factory, so nobody was stopping me. Like, I think Pookie was there, and he was egging me on. So, like, it was a good time. It wasn't for a long time, because Biohazard only played like 7 songs or something like that. Yeah, but it was 7 songs of hell from me.
I had the same experience when I saw Slipknot on their first headlining tour. Biohazard was main support, and none of those fucking maggots or whatever the fuck they want to call themselves had any idea what was coming. Especially when they played like Wrong Side of the Tracks, like, and they get to that breakdown, like, you're done. Like,
so Slipknot played at Asbury Convention Hall, like right at the turn when they like just popped. Machine Head opened for them, but it was right before the Burning Red or right after the Burning Red was like out, but they were still playing shit off of Burn My Eyes and The More Things Change, and they were only playing like 2 or 3 songs off of the Burning Red. And I was on fire that night too. It was just hell on earth for all these, as you call them, maggots, who, they're used to jumping up and down, not getting kicked and punched.
Yeah,
in the face.
they're not ready for like shit we do.
And it was a great time. And then I immediately left as soon as Machine Head finished. I literally drove down there, watched Machine Head, got in my car, and drove home. So
see, I'm one of those people. I actually do like some Slipknot shit.
No,
so I've seen him a few times, and they put on a crazy show.
I don't even fucking care. I fucking love them. I backed them since the beginning. I don't give a shit. They're
good for you.
They're the one band of that like era that like I hung on to. The rest of it can like eat shit. Like, if you're gonna go like new metal, they're the only ones that I like back.
So I had this conversation over the weekend. One of the bands that was in the studio, I was like, hey, what's your top 5 new metal bands? Because like all these kids in the band definitely at least some point like new metal. And then I had to come up with my list of like new metal records that I would still find myself listening to, and not intentionally, but also not cringing to do so. And I actually had a list of 5 records that I would still go ahead and listen to and not be mad at myself for doing so. So we'll come back to that list. Gary, finish up.
Let me think. I saw Limp Bizkit open for Faith No More.
Well, I was
That's terrible.
That was
and
record of the year tour.
I was so fucking pissed off.
So was the whole crowd.
Because, well, listen, Faith No More is my, my number 2 band of all time. And, of course, these dudes are just talking a ton of shit. And I'm like, who the fuck are these dudes? Because they fucking suck, and they're talking shit, and I just want to work my way up to the front of Roseland and go up there and punch them in their fucking mouth. They were fucking horrible. And they're still horrible. And unfortunately, I had to sit through them again when they played Giant Stadium opening for Metallica. We managed to stay out because, that was whatever that fucking tour was. And they had like 8 bands opening for them or some shit. And we just stayed out in the parking lot all day. And then it's like, all right, it's getting late. We might as well go in. And we had to sit through some of Limp Bizkit, and that was fucking torture. But yeah, they were fucking awful. Anytime. Those luckily were the only 2 times I had to sit through them. Disturbed was fucking awful.
Ooh, I never sat through them, but that sounds really bad.
Well,
like I can't even imagine sitting through that.
I think, Len, you and I talked about this before. This was the first Rockstar Mayhem Festival.
Okay, yeah, I do remember we had like...
It was at the Nassau Coliseum, and they had 2 stages outside, and then when the sun went down, the one big stage inside, and everybody went in. There were no assigned seats, so you go into the arena, pick a good seat, and that's where you're sitting. So it was like Mastodon and Dragon Force. I forget who else. I think Slipknot headline. Right. And we got some decent seats and watched like Mastodon and Dragon Force, and we were like, well, we don't want to lose these fucking seats. So we had to sit through Disturbed. And you want to talk about wanting to jump out a fucking window. Oh my God. It was awful.
That's terrible. I mean, that sounds absolutely fucking terrible.
Yeah, that digital guitar sound and just everything about it was just bad.
Yeah.
And the fucking asshole singer.
I feel like I need to send you like a care package for that. Like
it was like it was awful.
Like with sympathy.
It was one of the worst. Definitely one of the worst. What else? What else have I seen that was terrible? Oddly enough, I got free tickets one time and I went to see Beck.
You know what? I saw Beck and I didn't hate it, but it gets too long.
Well, I went because Ben Folds 5 was opening up and I wanted to see Ben Folds 5.
Okay.
So we sat through Beck and Beck busted out a bunch of his bullshit hits. And then he just started busting out straight up country music. Nope. Out. I'm out at that point. And motherfuckers were climbing over each other to get out the door.
They're like, no. That's not what we showed up for.
We actually decided to wait because the stampede was that bad at Jones Beach. And we're just watching. People were just pouring out the doors. He was maybe like an hour into his set, and everybody was just bouncing.
Do you blame them?
No. But it was just, listen, and I'm one of those people, like, if I go to a show, I'll try to find something, like, like you're with a girl and she likes, like, fucking Nick Cave or something. It's like, I couldn't give a fuck about Nick Cave, but I'll go to the show.
I'll suffer through.
Yeah, I'll find something to occupy myself, like I'm looking at the lighting or the fucking stage or some shit, and like, I've done that plenty of times, but, that shit was just horrendous. It was so bad. But
what? One of the other things that I saw, and it didn't make my list, but it's pretty bad. So Atari Teenage Riot opened for Wu-Tang and Rage Against the Machine in Camden, and that was fucking painful.
Oh, God.
They didn't even open. They played, like, after the show was over.
No, I thought they played early.
No, they played. Rage ended, and then when everyone was leaving, the Atari Teenage Riot played like outside, or maybe they did play early, but they also played.
No, they played early because I was there early.
They also played when the show was like over, and and everyone was just walking past them as they were playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just bounce.
Rage and Wu-Tang just played. Like, who gives a fuck about whoever is playing? I don't give a fuck who's playing. Like, the two best, two of the hottest bands in the world, like in hip hop, were playing. They just got done. Like, this techno shit, like, and I like awful techno music. That was.
Oh, we're gonna get to that in a minute. So, did you hit 5 yet, Gary, or is it?
I don't even know. But the only other one that I can think of is that one time I went Ozfest. On the off days of Ozfest, they would book side shows, and it was Marilyn Manson and Slipknot were the co-headliners, and under that, and this was like peak nu metal. You want to talk about peak nu metal? I had to sit through Papa Roach And before Papa Roach was Linkin Park.
Oh God, painful. That's just painful right there.
And you know what made me laugh about it was that Linkin Park went on earlier, and everybody was into them singing along and everything, and then
Papa Roach came on and nobody
the crowd hated on Papa Roach. They were like, "Get out of here with your whack ass rapping."
Yeah, that band
stolen Iron Maiden riffs, you fucks.
Band was really bad, extremely bad.
Oh, good.
So,
an honorable mention, by the way.
Ooh, okay.
It wasn't necessarily a bad show, but it was funny because I was working the show. You know, of course, Glenn from Billy Club also plays in No Redeeming Social Value, and I had the great pleasure of working with them as a roadie when they opened for the Insane Clown Posse. And that was a bit of a fucking mess.
I can only imagine.
Beers getting thrown at the stage the whole time. Nobody was down.
They're a band that should be on their radar. Because, I mean, they're all about having a good fucking time.
Yeah, I think it was all Kevin Gill, who was working with
right,
who we know from, for many years in New York, from like back in the SFT Records days. But, he was working for the Clowns, and he got No Redeeming on the show, which was cool, but, the fans weren't having it.
Not surprising.
Yeah, it was just standing on stage, dodging beer, making sure the equipment doesn't get fucked up. And then, usually, like, this was at the Gramercy Theater, and they usually have you load, they have a fenced off area on the side of the floor.
Right.
And usually, like, you go there and people be like, yo, good show, blah, blah, blah. Nobody.
Not one word.
Nobody.
Everybody's just like, fuck you. You're not you're not wearing clown makeup. Get out of my face.
They were just not having it. I will say, everybody that worked for the Clowns was cool.
Yeah,
like all their stage people and everything. Because one of them was a hardcore dude that had worked with Sworn Enemy and shit before. Like I think on Ozfest, and he was cool. But like the fans were just not.
We're good, bro.
Not down at all.
So I had my list of new metal records that I could suffer through right now if I had to, and some of them I wouldn't even say suffer through because I actually do still listen to them. And I'm just gonna list out all 5, and then you can make fun of me if you want to. Like, I'm not gonna talk about each one as I do it. Self-titled from Korn, Incubus Science, Deftones Adrenaline, the self-titled from Seven Dust, and Stuck Mojo Pickwalk. All 5 of those records are definitely, at least in my opinion, new metal records, but I can still hear something in each one of them that doesn't make me go, no.
I would argue that Science is not a new metal record, because
I would argue that it is.
It's so fucking different than what, like, it was, because if that was the first record that they like tried to go like metal, because that previous shit, like the
was just all funk.
Fungus Among Us was all just
funk. And I don't know, like, I can't consider that new metal because it has new metal elements to it, but I wouldn't say it was a new metal record.
It's a new metal record.
I would say the rest of them are definitely new metal records, and I love Adrenaline I'll back, but I don't know, Science is one of those records I can't lump it into new metal for some reason. That was when Incubus was touring with nothing but new metal bands, but I don't think that was new metal. It would be the same thing if you had said that like System of a Down was in your list. Like, I can't say System of a Down was new metal either.
I can't stand System of a Down.
That's fine, and I'm not saying you have to like them, but they are not a new metal band that played almost exclusively with new metal bands when they were when they were doing their thing.
So then, what would make a band a new metal band if these bands that you're saying aren't new metal bands that would tour with new metal bands and had records that sound like new metal records, but they're not?
I don't know. It's just. I don't know how to like describe it because I don't fucking play instruments, so it's not like. But they don't. To me, it's not new metal. When I hear new metal, I hear Korn, Limp Bizkit, like some of those other fucking dog shit bands like Primal
Spine Shank.
Spine Shank,
Oh,
stuff
God.
like that. Like I hear that when I hear metal. I would almost lump Science with a band like Pitch Shifter, like the Pitch Shifter from the UK, not the fucking like old metal band, but like the Pitch Shifter that was like kind of techno. They had like techno like background, stuff like that. They were an actual band. Like that's where I would put Science. Like, you know, not in. It's definitely not industrial because they weren't.
I don't know. I feel like.
I'm not mad at you for putting it down.
No. I'm not trying to, like, we're not arguing about this. We're just discussing it. Yeah. But if you look at the arc of Incubus, you go funk band, Science, which is definitely a new metal record, and then they're just a rock band after that. Yeah. Just like Deftones minus the funk, because they do new metal record, semi new metal record, rock record, and then they're in their own zone from that point on. Like, maybe, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying new metal bands. The whole premise of this statement was new metal records, and I think that record is a new metal record.
All right, we'll agree to disagree.
Well,
I'm right all the time, so
you may be surprised by my take on your list. First of all, I don't have issue with any of them. The only one that I wouldn't touch is Stuck Mojo, just because I was never really into them at all.
That's fine.
I think a couple of them are questionable as quote unquote new metal records. First of all, surprising thing that most people might not know, I am actually a huge Seven Dust fan from the very beginning. To everything they've done, even to the most recent records, I'm a huge fan. I don't think they are a new metal band. I don't think that's a new metal record.
Then what kind of record is it?
It's tough to say because it's in that weird spot.
Soul metal?
Well, because you can get into a whole thing of what defines new metal, because then you could say funk, because there's not really funk on that record. But then Incubus Science, there's a lot of funk on it, but is it a new metal record? And by the way, that reminds me, I saw them, I had to sit through System of a Down when I saw Incubus on that tour, and that was another terrible show, because System of a Down is like I just want to pour acid in my ears instead.
Bro, I saw Incubus on the Science tour at the Pontiac Grill with 3 people in the crowd.
Wow.
It was the greatest, worst night of my life, being that, like, I'm watching a band that is going to go on to be great, and no one's paying attention.
Well, so to go back to that, also, you know, if you look into what defines new metal, you don't have, like, okay, yeah, Korn you could use as like the blueprint, that first record, for what people call new metal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember hearing that record and thinking, like, okay, this is the start of something new.
Right.
And I felt that way about that record, and I felt that way about Glassjaw.
Right.
Silence. You know, and I didn't even like the Korn record when I first heard it. I went back to it like 6 months later, and I was like, oh, there's some songs on here. But, you know, you could say that it's a funk thing, but then does the Deftones record have funk like that? No.
No, not at all.
Does Seven Dust record have funk like that? No. So it's like, what really, you know, but then you listen to something like Papa Roach, which is a lot of people consider new metal, but like, does it have funk like that?
Not really. A little.
Not really. It's not like, yeah, it doesn't have the obvious slap bass like Limp Bizkit did, or Korn does, or a lot of these other bands had.
I always felt like new metal in the sound was always, because Korn did it first, it was always the down-tuned, very like elementary, like paint by numbers type like riffs. Like there was nothing simple. It was like they'd bend the strings a little bit here and there, but they'd be tuned to the fucking floor. And that was always like what, if you like go back and listen to a lot of those like peak late 90s new metal bands, they all had that like similarity. They were all fucking tuned to drop D. They all, you know, played like it was just like the everything seemed really simple. There was nothing to it. Like if you like, to me, like maybe Korn, I'm sure like some of the bass licks on the first Korn record are fucking super complicated, but like I feel like, and I don't play guitar, but I feel like if you give me like 3 months, I could probably play that whole first record. Like it just
You're probably not wrong.
No, you're not wrong, because it's not that complicated. And honestly, it's funny. I was just having a conversation recently about how the dude from Korn is not very good. Like it's all just fucking noise, you know? It's all slap noise. Like he's not hitting.
On bass?
Yeah. And guitar, listen, their whole thing was that they took the 7 strings, which were tuned down to A.
Oh, they were A? I thought we saw they were.
Yeah, they
were. No, the whole Korn thing was, you know, because the 7 string, when Vi created it, the low, you know, it was standard tuning, and the low string was a B. They tuned everything down one step, so everything was in A. So, but that's the thing. Like, okay, you could take the down tuning, or you could take the slap bass, and like you had bands that maybe had different elements of that, but they didn't have all of it necessarily. Like, okay, Limp Bizkit had all of that, but Seven Dust tuned low, but they didn't have funk or slap bass. Deftones weren't tuned as low. I think that
no, they weren't. They weren't that low.
They were in like C sharp or something.
Yeah, they were in C sharp,
and they didn't have slap bass. Like,
yeah, but I mean,
then like the vocal delivery was another thing. What's that?
But you listen to those records, and like you can pin it at least to that time frame.
You can pin it to the time frame, but I don't know. But then listen, people said that Machine Head Burning Red was a new metal record. I don't really think so.
I think so.
And I like that record. I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
I would argue that the more things change is the fucking new metal record.
It's definitely a new record.
I could see that more, yeah. But then look, Slipknot.
Well, I'll fuck someone up to 10-ton hammer.
Like, yeah, same here. But that's not what we're talking about right now.
But if you're looking at like a new metal checklist, Slipknot hit a bunch of those.
Yep.
Because they had more like slap bass type shit. At least on the first record, like more funky stuff. They went in a different direction, but so did a bunch of these bands. So did the Deftones.
Yeah.
You know, did Incubus. But
just think about it just by singular records, not necessarily total careers.
Yeah, I mean, I like those records that you mentioned. Like I said, except for the Stuck Mojo, which I just, not hating, just never got into it. To me, Coal Chamber was just a complete ripoff of Korn.
Bad, and just bad in general.
Yeah. But then, like, the other quote-unquote new metal bands, like, honestly, the ones that you mentioned are probably the only ones that really did shit for me.
Yeah, I mean,
like, Linkin Park,
I feel like I got great taste, bro, so I'm not surprised.
No, Papa Roach, no.
I feel like I'm only down to the Deftones and Slipknot, and that's it. Like, I have Sirius in my car, and they were running through some, like, old stuff, and they, like, played an old Korn song, and I was like, I'm going to try to sit through this. And I can't do it. And it was a first record song, I don't even remember what it was, but it wasn't Blind or Chutes and Ladders. I was like, I can't do it. Then I got this I was arguing with, and we all know and love her, May. She loves Limp Bizkit, like loves them, like not ironically, thinks they're amazing. One of the best bands she's ever seen live, which...
May, I'm judging you.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I had that fucking record when I was a teenager. Let me try to listen to it. So I went on Spotify and was like, all right. I was like, play this. So I fucking listened to that second record, the one with Nookie on it. And as shitty as I remembered some of the lyrics, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking listening to this record? Like, how did I like this record? Like, because as I was like skipping through the tracks and like being like, oh yeah, I remember this dumbass song. Like, I was like, there is nothing. The only song I would say, and I wouldn't even say it's good. The only song that I can tolerate is the hip hop song that they do with Method Man, just because it's a hip hop song and it's fine. But I was like, man, Limp Bizkit, like, I don't know how like some of those bands I go back and listen to, and I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? So I would say I wouldn't even have it. My 5, if we're gonna say Adrenaline is a new metal record, Adrenaline, and then literally Slipknot's discography. And that's it. That's my new
but
metal.
even Slipknot, after the first record, they started going.
Yes. They went a whole different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the exception to the rule, but like when it comes to, and I'm actually going to be on like another like strictly new metal podcast talking about Slipknot, like they're still in that realm. They're like they still have very much, even in their last record, which I love their newest record.
Well, I mean they attract all the big titty goth girls.
I mean that helps. But I like the new record. But I think one of the things that happened with them that kind of lost me a little bit was that they started to get a little too melodic.
Yeah.
Because then it started, like, you got Slipknot and then you got Stone Sour, and it started to get a little too close to Stone Sour for me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they still are a new metal band. Like, while they have elements of, like, death metal and shit, like, they're still a new metal band at heart. Like, I won't be one of those people that go out there and are like, Slipknot's not a new metal band. Like, they're totally a new metal band still.
Fear Factory obsolete. New metal band, new metal record.
Shit, I would argue that fucking Soul of the New Machine was the start of new metal.
You would argue that?
Yeah, I would say when everyone's like, oh, Korn like made it like a thing, but I would say I've said this before, and people like I've gotten the eyeballs for saying it, but I would say that Soul of a New Machine was really the first new metal record.
Okay.
And you could also argue to a degree that Chaos AD was also a new metal record.
No,
I can't argue that. I cannot.
Roots,
Roots is a full on,
but not Chaos AD.
Roots is absolutely a new metal record without like fucking question. But if you listen to Arise and then listen to Chaos AD,
oh, it's a totally different.
But when you start to listen to it, there is definitely some of that new metal shit creeping in there. It's not all right, maybe I'll take it back. It's not a new metal record, but there's new metal. There's a sign of the change coming. Like Roots was
Roots was he heard Korn and was like, I want to.
I got to do that.
Yeah.
But I felt like the writing was on the wall that they were going to start going into that more groove, slowed down direction as soon as they released Chaos AD. Now I'm all doing this in hindsight. When I got into Sepultura, Chaos AD was the last record that came out. But when I'm looking back through their discography, Chaos AD has the writing on the wall of what was to come, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel that way about Roots.
But Roots is a new metal record,
full on.
Shit. I remember buying that and being like, what is this? And there's like 3 songs that I can like tolerate on it, but the tuning that they decide to use.
Attitude is the only song on there that I like.
I like that Dictator shit song, and I like, what the fuck is the other song in there? I've never listened to this record, so I can't remember what
I don't remember the rest of
Roots
them.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Let me look it up.
So
Propaganda on there or on
no Chaos AD.
It was on Chaos AD.
So Burton C. Bell announced today that he was out of Fear Factory of his own accord. He quit because he can't trust anybody that's left, aka Dino, who's the sole proprietor owner of Fear Factory.
Does he actually own the name Fear Factory now?
Yes, he 100% owns the name Fear Factory, so he can do whatever.
I don't think he does.
Who?
I think there's still legal issues between them.
Nah, it's all settled. It's all in there. Like in this report I read that Dino owns 100% of the name at this point. He won against Olds Wolbers and Herrera, and he never sued Burton, but he sued to have sole ownership, and Burton quit. So he's the owner of the name. So Burton says that he can't work with them ever again. He doesn't trust Dino. He's out. Olds Wolbers and Herrera have been out for years at this point. So Dino is the only one sitting around with this Fear Factory name. the reason I'm bringing this up is that I've gone on record 100 times saying in the past that if it wasn't for Fear Factory, we wouldn't have the productions that exist right now in metal, because they're the ones that really focused on that precision mechanical drum sound. And before Demanufacture, it didn't even exist. So you can just extrapolate where we're at with this fake production bullshit directly back to that. So your statement that they started nu metal and my statement that they've like caused this like magnum shift in the way that records are made. They're one of the most important bands that have ever existed in metal, and they're still kind of shitheads at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, they've definitely had a major impact. Partly, and it's funny because one of these like YouTube news video channels did a whole thing about who was the first band to do like the singing screaming thing, and they didn't mention Fear Factory at all, and the comments just lit them the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Kill Switch Engage without Fear Factory.
Right. The comments just lit them up.
There's no nu metal without Fear Factory. Part of the other element of nu metal was the fact that it was like screaming and singing. It was always that
right.
that blend.
Or rapping. It depends.
Yeah.
You could go. You know, there are a couple of, just like with everything else, there's a couple of different directions you could go with that. But you also, you know, the other part that you mentioned just about the production, there's a whole. And I don't know what you would even call it as far as genres go, because I'm sick of fucking dealing with names of genres anyway. But there was a whole genre of metal bands that came out after Fear Factory that were all the super fucking trigger drums, like Chimera and bands like that.
Oh, God. I hate that fucking band.
Yeah, but it was all bands like that came straight
from that
out of that scene. You know, they took the lead from Fear Factory, and if I remember right, a couple of guys from that band ended up playing in Fear Factory at some point, you know, in one of their many lineup fucking fiascos. But yeah, you had a whole bunch of bands that all came from that were all like that precision fucking drum shit, and that was all Fear Factory because nobody did that before them.
Yeah, I blame
not like
them.
that.
But I will say that regardless of me calling Obsolete a nu metal record, it is one of the greatest concept records ever released. And it's technically a better record than Demanufacture, though Demanufacture has the hits. Like, if you just listen to it as like a singular work, Demanufacture is just like a bunch of songs that are cool. But then Obsolete is the full package. It's a story end to end. And my argument is that it's their better record, not necessarily their better songs.
No, that was my first introduction to a concept record, period. Like when I was reading the liner notes about like the War Against the Machines and like taking over and all that, like everything that album is about. That was as far. I mean, you have to remember what year did that come out? Like 96,
98.
98. So
98.
I was 15, maybe 16, depending upon the time of the year it came out. So it was like the first time I can recall being introduced to a total concept record from start to beginning or start to end, with the exception of like Pink Floyd. But like in terms of metal, like that being like a thing. And I was like, this is the fucking cool. Like I thought that was like the coolest thing. I was like, it tells a story. Like the whole record is a story, like beginning to end, like not just a bunch of like random ideas. I couldn't do that shit. I'm not smart enough to write a whole album about one thing.
I don't know. We almost could have did it, technically.
Yeah.
I would say that when it comes to metal in general, that is definitely one of the best concept records.
Easily.
I mean, I could name a bunch off the top of my head, but that is right up there. Like whether you're talking about like one of the King Diamond records or Operation Mindcrime. You know, there's a bunch of good metal concept records, but Fear Factory really had, you know, they had something there
for a minute, and then they released Digimortal, and well, that was that.
Well, I'll argue that they only have 2 bad records. They have that Digimortal is terrible, and then they came back with Archetype, Sans Dino, and I like that record. It sounds a little weird because Christian is not as precise in his guitar as Dino is. So I was like, all right, cool, this is a return to form. They were fun on the tours that they played. And then they released that Transgression record. And that record is dog shit too. It's basically it's basically Digimortal Part 2. Then after that, all their records, which like get no like recognition, the Industrialist, Mechanize, and even the new one, Genexus, whatever the fuck it was called, they're solid records. They're good thrash records. I mean, nothing really like will stand out like some of the old hits, but I'll back them as good records. So I'll say Fear Factory only has 2 turds in their whole like discography.
You know, I can tell you that I haven't spent enough time with some of the later stuff, so I can't argue one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
The only one I think you might have an issue with is the Industrialist, because it's Gene Hoglan couldn't make the studio, so it's all programmed drums.
Oh, no. Yeah. No. It
sounds good. It sounds pretty human, even for Fear Factory, which doesn't sound human normally because of how it's just the way that they do it. But it's a lot of people got turned off by it because it's a drum machine.
Right.
But I think the songs stand on their own. Like, it's not, I'm not going to say, oh, this is going to be your favorite record, but it's not as bad as it sounds when you hear, especially knowing how Fear Factory sounds. A drum machine kind of works because of the way, how precise they are with their drumming.
Yeah, the way they always were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't listened to any
It's not drum machine like Agoraphobic Nosebleed or some shit like that.
Yeah. I haven't listened to any of the more. I don't think I listened to anything since Archetype.
I would say,
yeah, that was probably the last thing I really listened to was Archetype.
And by the way, they were touring for Archetype when they played the infamous Hellfest at the Rexplex.
They were. They did.
They played Hellfest?
Yeah.
They played that?
Yeah, they did.
I don't know. I think I was fucked up that day from busting my shoulder.
Ain't they closer? Weren't they the last band of the weekend? I think they were the last band of the weekend.
Possibly. If they were, they might have.
Luck 13 fiasco.
Yeah, that's possible. I'd have to look it up for sure, but it's definitely very possible.
Talk to Sonny. Doesn't Sonny have all the videos now?
He has a bunch of them. I'll have to ask him.
What year was that? 2004?
Yeah. So
hold on, I'm pulling up the schedule right now. Thank you, Internet.
The night before my old band Breath of Silence played, Nothing Left to Mourn played, and I was moshing, and I moshed myself straight into a metal pole and blew my shoulder out. So by the time, if Your Factory was playing last or whatever, I was in no condition the next night to even bother watching the number. I was ready to go. So did they play?
You were right, John Wren. They were the last band on one of the main stages.
Huh.
8:45. It looks like. Yeah, it was Dillinger Escape Plan on one stage, then Life of Agony on the other stage, and then back to Fear Factory. So yes, it looks like they closed out the weekend.
And that was the last time Hellfest existed. They were the last band to play Hellfest.
Yeah, that was 8:45 p.m. they went on. Bad Luck 13 hit the Hot Topic stage at 8:15.
Yeah. And we're done at 8:25.
And we're done.
Yo, that was a fucking wild ass time.
And unfortunately, there's video proof that I was in that nonsense.
Oh, I'm aware you're in the video.
I got to tell you, it was so funny because we were hanging out in the parking lot with Mike, who used to roll with Bad Luck, and he's showing us the Ziploc bags of like the fucking
lamb heads and shit.
Lamb heads
and entrails
that have been
and all nonsense.
sitting in the summer heat
Ugh.
in the car all day. And then he's showing us the flamethrower. He's melting beer cans. And we're just like, this is going to be real bad.
It's going to be real dumb. And I mean, so I only know Dennis really from Bad Luck.
Good dude.
I'm going to preface this with, I have no issue with the band whatsoever. I just never got into the music. Like, I don't get it, and I don't think I'm supposed to get it. It's supposed to be just riot music.
I was just gonna say that. I don't think the music
being
is
that I'm really into like music. I just looked at it. I mean, I had to watch the spectacle of what was going to happen that day. I didn't run away from it, but it was just like I don't know. I don't get it, and you know, it was fucking insane to watch though.
I got to tell you this. I'm looking now at this lineup.
Hellfest 2004.
Yeah, and
it's
a
crazy lineup, man.
Dude, it is completely insane how many bands played this shit and where they ended up.
I mean,
the lineup is fucking nuts.
The would-be 2005 lineup was fucking crazy too.
Yeah, that was insane too.
But like, I'm looking at this like, All Else Failed, The Red Chord, Unearth on Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, because that was the time at which that like.
I stage dived to Black Hearts Now Rain like right before the solo kicked in, and I absolutely obliterated some like 5'0" girl. I felt so bad because everyone parted out of the way, and I just killed her. Like that's my memory of Unearth. I'm sure if like I think the video exists. I think what was it, Holy Roller or High Roller, whatever the fuck that studio was. I think they released that originally. And I saw it, and I was like, you just see me run across the stage, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's when I like absolutely ended that girl's life by just landing on her head.
So that Friday, all right, so on that stage, it was, as you said, All Else Failed open that day on Friday. Then the Red Chord, then Unearth. And then you got Terror, As I Lay Dying, Norma Jean, Sick of It All, and Misfits all playing on that same stage that day. I mean, that's a fucking big day.
And that's the tiny stage.
Yeah, and that was bangers almost the whole way through. Because As I Lay Dying at the time, we didn't realize that this asshole was a fucking gonna try and kill his wife.
Well,
so,
they also hadn't really blown up at that point yet.
Yeah, I guess they were pretty big to be in the middle of the show.
Nah.
I mean, I knew them.
I mean, they were still early on. They got a lot bigger after that.
But then on the Trustkill stage that same day, you know, Every Time I Die is playing at 2:25, and now like they can headline their own damn festival.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Half of these bands is like you look at them, and some of them are early on like small stages, and they ended up becoming huge. I wasn't there on the Friday. I was there Saturday and Sunday.
You were there on Saturday and Sunday? Yeah.
I went to work for No Redeeming. No Redeeming played Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just went, Glenn and I and Phil Irate all went back Sunday. And we were just filming.
We played my band played Sunday at like noon on the basketball court stage. Right. Whatever that was. I think that was the Trustkill stage.
No, that was the Hot Topic stage.
Was that the Hot Topic stage? Okay.
Yeah, because that's where Bad Luck played.
Okay, yeah, it was the same spot.
But yeah, you look at it, you know, the Trustkill stage on Friday. Yeah, you had Every Time I Die, Hymns, Remembering Never, Mastodon, Suffocation. Shadows Fall.
Strike Anywhere, for that matter.
Oh yeah, they're kind of blurry on this. And then the Hot Topic stage, which was the big stage, No,
that big stage was the smaller stage in the back.
Hawthorne Heights, Burnt by the Sun, All That Remains, Today Is the Day, Pig Destroyer, Big Wig.
I mean, it was a big day.
The dinosaur stage was the really small stage.
That was like in that little room.
Yeah, the little side room.
100 Demons played in there, and I was like, everyone's going to die.
So did Full Blown Chaos played in there, too.
Yeah.
And fucking With Honor headlined that room. And, I mean, they were hot at that moment. I don't know. That was a good weekend.
That was a really fun weekend.
Well, yeah, because then Saturday, you had Bury Your Dead, you had Stretch Armstrong,
Martyr
Bane, Agnostic Front,
Hope Conspiracy, Stretch Armstrong, Caliban, Avail, Bane. Yeah, like everybody was on this show.
Evergreen Terrace.
It went on the base, basically like New Jersey come kill each other. It went the banner Shattered Realm. I mean, at that time you couldn't have gotten any more New Jersey than that.
Yeah.
And fucking Zayo played. So like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and where is it? Yeah, No Redeeming was on at like 3:00 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And Comeback Kid was right before them. And then DRI was later. I guess Marauder played the Sunday on that same stage.
I think so.
I know I saw, yeah.
Marauder played over on the basketball stage.
Yeah, that was the Sunday. Okay. Figure 4, Misery Index, Walls of Jericho, Most Precious Blood.
Yeah.
And the Saturday, the big stage
at Andrew WK.
E-Town
yes.
and Andrew WK.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fucking great weekend. And I honestly feel like that was the last great big weekend until Joe started doing the reunion sets. Like, he would have good shows or good like weekends along the way, but once he started to really pack it and he moved it over to the Electric Factory, that's when the feeling of Hellfest came back to town. You know what I mean?
Oh, and Sworn Enemy on the Sunday, which I remember because everybody was just rushing the stage. So, like, it was me and Phil Irate just holding people back from knocking over all the guitar cabinets in the bass cabinet, which I think, doesn't Sonny have that footage now?
I don't know exactly which footage he does and does not have.
I hope he does, because I'd love to see that footage, because you just see us desperately trying to keep people from knocking everything over. It was fucking hysterical.
I mean, I went to Hellfest 01, 02, 03, and 04. I don't think I might have gone to Hellfest 2K, but I know I didn't go to the first one in 99. And every single year was fucking great.
Those are all Syracuse?
Yeah, they were all up in Syracuse. And I was always
the
going...
only one in Jersey.
Yep. And I was always going with Brian Yan. Like, Brian Yan was like my go-to guy for traveling to random shit way far away.
He's going with me to that Gwar show. So, yeah, random traveling to way far away.
Yeah.
That's what Brian Yan's good for.
Yeah. Fucking asshole.
And by the way, that Sunday, on that stage before Bad Luck, was Marauder and then 25 to Life.
Yep. Sounds about right.
That's for a lead-in.
So, just Hellfest 2K, the reason I went to that in 2000 was because it was billed as Turmoil's last show ever. And it was worth it for me to go just for that day on July 2nd. Because just listen to this lineup. From top to bottom, Turmoil, One King Down, Starkweather, Brothers Keeper, Poison the Well, Shai Hulud, New Day Rising, Diecast, Spitfire, Throwdown, Hope Conspiracy, Every Time I Die, All Else Failed, Destro, Spark Lights the Friction, and This Day Forward. Like, for me, like, at that time in 2000, that was wonderful. But the day before was Converge, Buried Alive, Bane, Reach the Sky, Cave In, Walls of Jericho, 18 Visions, Time in Malta, Drag Body, Glass Eater. Like, that thing, Prayer for Cleansing, Killswitch. All, like, I saw all these bands in the course of, like, a few days. And the Friday was Dillinger, Escape Plan, and Zayo with Burn It Down and Candiria. Like,
Jesus Christ, what's your fucking rest band?
There were no rest bands. Like, it was just it was just a crazy weekend, and it was in like a skate. It was like in a skate hall. It wasn't even the ones that were outside in Syracuse. It was like literally in a skating rink, and like people were beating the shit out of each other. It was fucking awesome.
My first experience with Hellfest was I went up for the last day to see the last Earth Crisis set.
Okay.
So I only went up.
Was that 2001?
Yeah, I went up that day and got the vibe, and I was like, yeah, I got to come to this. Like, I don't know why I didn't come up for the whole weekend, but I drove up specifically to see Earth, because Earth Crisis is like, I've always said, like, White Zombie is my favorite band ever, but Earth Crisis is the most important band to me. And if I was going to, if I was not expecting to ever see them again, so I was like, I have to be there. And I remember catching the vibe and being like, this fest thing is like something different. And then I went to every year after that, including the fairgrounds where everyone was breathing in like horseshit dust.
Yeah, dude. They did the fairgrounds 2 years in a row. They did the fairgrounds 2 years in a row, and it was fucking rough out there. So the year of Hellfest 2K, there was a fest like 99/2000. It was like the New Year's Day fest. It was the first day of 2000 at the same place that Hellfest was going to be at. And I went up with Amit and Diami. So Amit's a dude from New Jersey, and Diami's obviously from Locked in a Vacancy. And we all just jumped in a car and went up to this thing because there was like a bunch of bands playing, and we were all like, yeah, let's just fucking go to this thing. And that's what gave me the idea to go up to Hellfest, because I was like, all right, I've already been up here once, I can get up here again. Because driving to Syracuse in 2001 for a show, just for a single show, just wasn't really on my list of things to do alone. But if I could get friends to go, yeah. So then I was like, Hellfest 2000, Brian Yan, you want to go? And he's like, yeah. And then we went. So it was a good time. And I kind of miss that time frame. Like, I miss being young enough to like actually want to go long distances for shows and like hang out and meet new people and watch bands and tire myself out. I have no interest at this point. Like, I want to just sit down. I want to relax. I'm fucking tired and old.
Yeah, I can't do any of that shit unless like, because I did enough of it when I was younger, and like I'm at the point now, it's like unless I got like some sort of VIP shit or something, like I'm just shot. Like I can't just go and stand around for fucking hours.
I like want to bring my own tent and like folding chair and like just kind of chill in the middle of the room. Open the zip, undo the zipper. Band kind of sucks. Rezip the zipper. Have my own little bubble.
Meanwhile, I go to raves now in DC.
Yeah,
and I'm out till like 4 a.m. So
yeah, that's where I was going. That was my next statement. Is John Wren, as a grown ass man, how do you find yourself going to these like wild ass raves? You're almost 40 at this point, and you're gonna be going out, like hanging out with people doing all kinds of like weird ass drugs, and you're a straight edge dude, and it's all just like techno of some sort. I don't get it. I support it. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that I don't support you having fun. I want you to have fun, but I want to know Like, what is it that draws you into this? Because I don't get it.
I've always danced, like as a young kid. Like one of my earliest memories, I guess, is dancing at my parents' wedding to the Gap bands. You Drop the Bomb on Me, like fucking getting down. So like I've always been attracted to the beat. Like so when I was like 16 or so, I got really introduced to like hard house music, which is like a really intense form of techno, and it just like hit me. I was like, this is fucking, like, this has got some energy. You can fucking dance to this. Like it's like more because like what I listen to now, this whole like EDM world, which there's like a gazillion. You think there's a lot of subgenres in like metal and hardcore. There's like,
oh god, yeah, I know.
There's exponentially more when it comes to like fucking dance music.
Yeah.
But under the umbrella of EDM, it's not the same as what I listened to when I was like 16 or 17. Like the stuff that I listened to when I was a teenager, even into my early 20s, is really like, that's what you do drugs to. Like that, like everyone at that is on fucking dust, or like they're coked out of their minds, like at these shit, or they're hitting balloons or whatever. The stuff now is more, a lot of these producers are trying to make like big songs. They want to be like on the radio. They want to work with like the Lady Gagas and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff now is more palatable to just dance music. But they still incorporate a lot of that old shit that I liked into their live shows. So they'll make a song that's gigantic on the radio. Like for instance, Major Lazer made a song called Lean On. You couldn't escape it for like a whole summer. It was the biggest song on the radio. You've heard it. You've heard it.
Yeah, I just don't know what it is.
Don't know what it is. But it was, regardless, it was a gigantic song. It was played on Q102. It was played on all the top 40 stations. It was in like 700 million commercials. It was a gigantic song. But then when you go see Major Lazer or Diplo or whatever, however, he also has those like Boots and Cats songs like in between those big singles that he puts out.
Right.
And to me, it's just like I've always been stuck to the beat. Like I've always been, and I'll dance. Like I just dance. Like I'll dance, whatever it is, I'll just dance with people. Like I don't give a shit. And that's what I get out of it. And it's also not like, it's a different vibe than like going to a hardcore metal show. I always joke around. I'm like, that's all white male aggression. And the stuff at techno, they're all in a good mood. Everyone just wants to fucking, whether they're on drugs or drunk or whatever, everyone's having a good time. Everyone wants to just fucking dance and party, and there's no like shit vibes. So you kind of like feed off that. Like, and sometimes like I need that instead of just listening to like music that you want to punch someone's teeth out to. So that's where dance music comes from for me.
You know what would be right up your alley?
What's that?
If you ever went to Yperfest in Belgium.
Oh, I heard about the famous raves after this show.
Oh yeah, because we played, and like after we played one of the big stages, and after us was like Turnstile and Harley Flanagan, and I forget who else, and like the other stage Crowbar played, and then like Len, after the bands are done, they clear the stage, they put a DJ set up, and it's fucking rave night.
And everybody's just dancing and partying.
And it's all Europeans just getting down all fucking night. Like John Frank, when I went back to the hostel at like 3 a.m. and it was still going strong. And like these dudes finally wrapped up. Like they had to help May back to her room because she was partying all fucking night.
Well, no surprise. No surprise, May.
Yeah, but she was going strong from like before we even got there. So,
she
but
fell
yeah,
asleep on the side of the stage somewhere for a little bit.
What's that?
She probably fell asleep on the side of the stage somewhere for a little bit. She was having a second wind at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, it's funny you say that because I didn't see her all day, and then I see her as we're setting up on stage, and say hello, hug, everything, and then like everybody that walks by is like, "Hey, stay awake tonight, okay?" Because apparently Hatebreed played the night before, and she was just on the side of the stage, just dead asleep.
I'm making her listen to this. I'm gonna be like, skip the 2 hours in, Listen to this.
Listen, sooner or later she's going to be on here, so it's only a matter of time. But yeah, she told us because I just looked at her. I'm like, "What did you do?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I had a rough night last night." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she stayed awake for our set, so I'll give her that.
She's my favorite Euro.
Oh, she's so funny.
Oh man.
But yeah, they have those raves going all night, and they were just going strong. Like, I'm dead. Like, my old ass is tired of shit. I'm like ready to go to sleep, and they're still going, drinking.
Dude, I'm tired of you just telling me this story. I'm like ready to go to bed.
God. But that's right up John Wren's alley for sure.
John Wren, I want to go with you one night to one of these dumbass dances.
All right.
It's a mandate to that.
Yeah, I'll be sitting that one out for sure.
Oh, come on, Gary. Let's go.
I'll come up to New York. We'll go to one of the clubs in New York.
We'll see. The dance club stuff is totally not my game at all. Just never did a thing for me.
We'll hop you up with Molly, and you'll be good to go.
Oh, okay. That might change the game a little bit. We'll see.
That reminds me, I was in New York, I don't know, like a year ago, and I think I was driving through because I was going to pick up some equipment, or maybe Descent was playing up there, or I don't know, for some dumb reason I'm in New York, and then you posted, John, that you were in New York, and I'm like, yo, where are you? And you're like, yo, I'm downtown, I'm about to go to this fucking rave, come down here. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Not going down there, not happening. Kiss my whole ass, I'm not coming.
Son, I'm good.
And you're like, don't be a sissy, get down here. And I'm like, no, I'm going home now because I'm not parking my car wherever you are and gonna torture myself tonight.
Oh my God.
Do you remember this?
No, I remember. Yeah, I saw a guy called Flostradamus.
Flostradamus. That sounds terrible. Was it fun?
It was so fun.
I don't know. I question your judgment, John Wren.
Oh man. So, John, I got to go back to something that you mentioned earlier that blew my mind. You've seen Gwar how many times?
45.
Holy shit. Len, have you seen any band 45 times that you weren't in?
Indecision.
That many times?
I saw them almost every single time that they played with Artie. Almost every single time, if it was between, we'll call it Connecticut and Baltimore. If they were playing and Artie was singing, I was there. So that's at least 20 right there. And then I've seen them a bunch of times with Tom. So I'm going to argue that I've seen them about 45 to 50 times, and I've seen Sick of It All like 39 times.
Sick of It All's up there. I've only missed them twice in Philly since the Built to Last tour. And I've seen them in like other spots, like other than that. But when it comes to Philly, Sick of It All, I've only missed them twice since Built to Last. And one of them they played with they played with some Oi band at the Electric Factory, and I was like, I'm not fucking going. I love Sick of It All, but I'm not paying money to see that. And then I played a show recently with a band that I'm not in anymore.
Which band is this, John Wren?
That was Final Judgment. I played with them. I played some shitty show up in Ben Salem the same night that Sick of It All played Philly. And that was that's it. They're the two shows I've missed. That Sick of It All.
Oh, was that the Swashbuckle show?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was who we competed against that night.
Okay, yeah, because I was at that show, at the Swashbuckle show, and I was there to see Swashbuckle and, of course, you, not the rest of your former bandmates who can all kick rocks. Well,
two of them are good. Two of them.
Two of them. Two of them can kick rocks.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So what happened with that, John?
Oh, well, the last time we recorded this, I played safe, but fuck it. I don't even care at this point. So the George Floyd thing happened, and clearly I took a stance on that. I'm very pro BLM and anti-police brutality. One band member in particular is on the way other side of the fence of that situation. Very incognito, sly stuff that was being posted online, but it was clear what his intentions were. And I sat on it for a little bit, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I can't do it. Ideology, I'll say this, the dude's a nice guy. He's a fucking dweeb, but like, he was a nice guy. And I was like, I can't do it. Can't associate with that ideology. I got to co-sign for everyone that's in my band, whether we talk about that or not. And I quit the band, but only I found out that 4 days before I actually quit the band, they had posted an ad on Craigslist to replace me, and did that without saying anything. So, fuck them.
Yeah.
So I quit. My guitarist, Josh, who is in Selfish, he's like the brains behind Selfish Lover, he quit, and our bassist, Steve Dever, quit as well. What the other two remaining members do, that's on them. I have no further association with Final Judgment.
So I will tell you that demo that you gave me that sat at the studio and you saw it and it was like kind of bouncing around, it was on the floor or whatever, yeah. It has gone into the circular file out towards Roadside Records. Oh, okay. So no offense to your singing on there, but I have no reason to keep that around anymore. Yeah. And if I never see either one of those other two members ever again, be happier about it. So yeah. They can both kiss my ass if they heard this.
Yeah, my thing is like, I like the songs that we wrote and I like the songs that were coming, but yeah, no, I can't be a part of that. And it's unfortunate because a friendship of almost 20 years got ruined because I don't know where they line up on that whole stuff, but they chose the path of least resistance when it came to being still in a band. They chose being in a band over not taking a side.
Right. So, which is dumb.
Yeah.
If you're going to, I appreciate the fact that for you, if you're going to say you're about it, you got to be about it the whole way, one way or the other. So, you can't co-sign for nonsensical things that don't fit in with how you personally feel, and you don't feel like you can actually stick in that. I 100% stand behind that because I would do the same thing. If something were to happen with a member of a band that I was in, I would leave because it's not worth it for me to stay in a situation that doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, no, I totally support it because listen, with certain things you can kind of compromise, but that's not one of them.
Yeah, it's just absolutely not a spot I can compromise on.
No, that's a little like, and some people will be like, oh, well, it's just politics, it's just that, whatever. But as John pointed out, it's like when you're in a band with a bunch of dudes, you got to co-sign certain shit.
Right.
And some things just are not, there's certain things you can't compromise on.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to show up and like back you up on some nonsense you said and I don't agree with it, I don't want to have to do that. Like, I need to be in full agreement to be riding around with you. Right. And like especially with what we do and like, let's face it, with the scene that we're involved in, sometimes shit happens, sometimes dudes don't like other dudes, sometimes fights pop off. Yep.
Sometimes people have different affiliations with people that may turn into conflicts, and you got to know that, you guys are all on the same page. You can't fuck around with certain things.
Yep. Can't be riding around on different sides of the coin.
And listen, God knows with Billy Club, we've had these conversations 100 times, especially when you start getting into race type shit.
Mm-hmm.
When you got, like, in our case, you got a couple of dudes that are like black and brown traveling around certain places, you're going to have a fucking problem.
Yep. And you got to know where everybody stands.
Exactly.
You can't be out there like finding this shit out on the fly. It just isn't going to work.
That's not the time for half stepping. Fuck that. So
John, tell me about Selfish Lover. What's the deal with that? Where are you at with that?
So Selfish Lover is a project it took a year and a half, almost 2 years from the first initial idea of that to get the album out, which has been out since May. We just we finished it and we were like, you know what, fuck it, let's put it out. Like, we'll have no momentum on it, but it's out there if people want to listen to it. I constantly plug it every now and then, and we pick up a couple more followers and a couple more people download it, or we see our Spotify listens go up. But right now, it's just out there. It's a grind project that started basically because me and Mahesh went and saw a band called Gadget play at Kung Fu Necktie on one of their 6 US shows. We got Jesse Baylor to come in and knock out the drums, and obviously you recorded it. But now that it's done, and Josh and I are not in Final Judgment anymore, it's kind of become the focus. The goal is to, when COVID's all done, make this a thing.
Right.
Eventually, we've asked you to come and break your wrist trying to play the riffs.
You know what? I haven't played guitar at all in 9 months now, so my wrist is going to 100% fall off day one. So whenever it is, be prepared with surgical steel to get me back together.
That's fine. But the goal is, hopefully, and we'll have more of a conversation off the podcast about getting into a room together. But the goal is to hopefully write more stuff and just be ready that the day that, it's okay, shows are back. All right, Selfish Lover hits the ground running. We're not going to be some fucking tour of the world band, but, I want to play some shows, have some fun. I want to have fun with people that are on the same page, because a lot of the songs, most of the 12 or 11 songs that we recorded are social or political in nature. And I felt like at the time that I was writing them, things were coming to a head in this dumbass country we have. And there's shit that I wanted to get off my chest that I couldn't get off my chest in Final Judgment because it was quote unquote no politics, even though we had 4 political songs. Right. And I also just like playing nonsensical music now, and Selfish Lover, it's 11 songs and it's barely 12 minutes of music. That's where I'm at in my life. Let's play fast, ridiculous music that has a message and a few fun songs, like a song about eating ass.
Right. So, as you mentioned, I did do the mix and the drum recording for the record, and I had such a good time doing it. Much like when I kind of joined Bottom Feeder, after I recorded the band, I was like, you know what, I kind of like this. John, let me play with you guys. Yeah. I am looking forward to that moment in which we all jump in a room. One of the things that I've learned is that playing in a band with a good drummer makes playing in a band fun. Because I went from Vince in Bottom Feeder to Mike in Descent, and both of them are killers in their own right, and Jesse is next level drummer. So the idea of we're gonna take Jesse and fucking Pat from Swashbuckle, who's an absolute murderer on bass, and put the two of them together with Mahesh and his ideas, and I'm just gonna sit back with you and be like, have at it, boys. I'll play the extra shit that you don't know. I'll just fill in over here. I'll be the extra noise, because I am nowhere near as talented as any one of these 3 members. But I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be fun. So,
yeah. And that's basically I want out of it. It's a lot of it's. I mean, we named the band Selfish Lover, so there's a lot of humor to it. Even though I say some shit, in my opinion, I say some shit in some of the songs, there's still this kind of lightheartedness, because I wrote real lyrics to Bottom Feeder. I mean, some of them became more metal in their things, but I wrote serious songs for Bottom Feeder, and I was always serious with Bottom Feeder. I was even serious with Final Judgment. Now it's time I can still write some songs that mean something lyrically and just be a dumbass at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, is taking a less bandad approach to being in my next project of whatever it is. If it's Selfish Lover, it's not that I just want to show up and play the riffs, but I don't want it to be a situation where I feel like I'm babysitting. I don't want to babysit anybody anymore while playing music. I just want to show up, play the riffs, have a great time, come up with some fun stuff, and just leave it all on the table and go home.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. As you said, pushing 40. That's where I'm at with it. I don't need to. I should, if I was going to take over the world, I would have done it with Bottom Feeder. But now I'm just having fun, jam with some people. If people like us, great. If people don't like us, I'm not going to get bent out of it. I used to get, in probably the first time I'm admitting it, I used to get annoyed at some of our shows, and I'm like, I know we're better than these bands, and no one's paying attention. Now I don't care. Like, if I play to the wall, sure, whatever.
Still had fun playing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you, because, like, there was a moment when we were doing that band where, I mean, it was me and you and Pat and Vince and Gretch, and we were tighter without practicing than 90% of the bands we would play with that practiced 6 hours a week. And, Vince would show up and he'd have drank all night the night before, and he was hungover, and he'd jump on the drums, and it was like lights out. Just absolute murderer back there. And it was a great time, and it's a shame that we didn't get to do more, but I still look back on what we did. It was fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Hell, that last show we did with Mike filling in was great. Like, I thought we were really good that day, considering we practiced twice.
What, the Jesus Piece show?
No.
That show.
No. The one in the basement.
The reunion show.
The reunion show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we practiced twice and we killed it.
Like, absolutely murdered it.
Yeah.
So, there's something to be said about playing with people that can actually play. Oh, yeah. Because it's something, it's an intangible. Like, Muttley, if you guys had to jump on stage and play a show without having to practice, it would probably go fine, because you guys are all pretty good at what you do. And you have such history together.
And, listen, with Billy Club, sometimes it's a little tougher, because certain people in the band are very much anti, like they want to over practice. But I could tell you, Mickey's crew was the total opposite, because there were times when Mickey's crew would play a show without practicing at all, without being in the same room with each other for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. And we just bashed the fucking thing out, no problem.
Right. Because when you know it, you know it.
Way. We just had it that way, and that's just the way we operate as musicians.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those guys, I can go, I've filled in for bands on like 24 hours notice or less. I played for Full Blown Chaos one time in Brooklyn on like 2 hours notice.
Their songs aren't the most simple songs. I mean, they're not the most complicated either, but that's a solid pull.
Yeah, I'm sitting in Mikey's fucking car listening to the CD. This was before Ray was in the band, when Joey was singing.
Okay, when Joey's still singing.
Yeah. And like half the band was at the show in Brooklyn, and they're like, "Yo, why don't we play?"
And they're like, "Well, we don't have anybody to play bass."
Ed's not here. And then they just, because 5 Minute Major was playing, so I was there, and they just look over at me, and I'm just like,
sure. Sure, whatever.
So I'm in Mikey's car listening to the fucking CD, and then of course, they don't have a set list. First song Joey calls is the one song that's not on the CD, but that's another story.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not the most complicated shit, but like, on like 2 hours notice, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Because listen, I don't care. I'm I'm the type of dude, I'll do the shit like I don't want to let anybody down.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if it's some shit that I know or pretty much know, like I got up on stage with Down Low like on like 20 minutes notice one time and did one song. I knew the song. I was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Metallica's in town and Trujillo is nowhere to be found. Do you jump on stage?
Yeah, let's do it. But none of that load and reload shit.
Only load and reload.
Fuck you, I'm out.
Saint Anger only.
Oh no. I got a brand to protect.
John Wren actually broke my Metallica cherry. He's the guy that got me to actually go see them.
Really?
That was the last time I saw them that they were like kind of good. I saw them 2 times since that, and I was trash.
I don't even remember when that was, but all I know is I gave you like $75 for this ticket, and I'm like sitting there, and it was fun. But
when was this?
It was, I don't know, mid 2000s,
2006, something like that.
Yeah, okay. I had never gone to see them before that.
I mean,
Trujillo was in the band by this point,
right? Going back to what we were talking about earlier, there's bands that I've seen a lot. Like, I guarantee you, I've seen like Breakdown and Everybody Gets Hurt and Irate like
150
many times. But Metallica is one of the bands that I've seen the most. I've probably seen them as many. I think I once counted and I saw Slayer 14 times. And I've probably seen Metallica about 14 times also. And I've seen them good, and I've seen them fucking terrible.
I'm not surprised by that.
And I will say, the last couple of times that I've seen them, they've actually been really fucking good. And when I saw them at Yankee Stadium, that was the peak. And that was the peak for Slayer, because I didn't even want to see Slayer after that Yankee Stadium show. Like, to me, that was it. Like, you're never going to match that show.
John, did you go see Slayer at the Camden waterfront? And it was like a November show, and they gave away tickets for like 25 cents or 50 cents on like Groupon.
Grubhub.
Oh, Grubhub.
I refused to see. I saw Slayer. The last time I saw Slayer, Lombardo was still in the band. I didn't go to the Big Four show because it was astronomical, and I won't see that show not on the floor. And I couldn't afford. I wasn't spending like $300 to be on the floor for that show. So the last time I saw them, I felt like was like 2009, 8, something like that. And then I didn't see them for like 10 years. And then when they announced like their final show, I went to the Reading show because I thought that was going to be it. And then I did go to their actual like last show in Camden. But I had like an 8-year gap where I didn't see them because I was like, fuck this band. It's like 2 guys and Kerry King's a dick. So I'm not going to spend any money. I'm not going to spend any money to see half a Slayer. So I didn't go to. I remember hearing about that, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're giving away tickets. They're like $1." And I was like, "Yeah, they can keep it. Like, I'm not going to that show."
Yeah, it was literally I paid 50 cents for a ticket, and I had like, I don't know, I was like 20 rows back, and
that was what, the farewell tour?
No. This was like, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and maybe it was even 7 years ago, but it was a while back, and it was at the Camden waterfront, whatever the fucking name of that place is. And like, it was in the winter, so they didn't have the outside like lawn area open. It was just an indoor show, and like, it was painful. Like I should have just sat that one out.
Actually, the last time I saw them before I took like my big gap, it was the tour that they did with Megadeth, where Megadeth played all of Rust in Peace and Slayer played all of Seasons.
Yeah.
And then I was like, at that point, I was like, I seen him do Rain and Blood, and I seen him do Seasons. I'm good. I can not see Slayer anymore.
See, I saw them on that tour, and I was on the floor right in front of Jeff Hanneman.
And it was a goddamn mess, wasn't it?
He sounded horrible.
And he's usually the guy that holds it together. He was the one that usually like, sound good live.
He sounded so bad, and I was just in shock how bad he sounded. And then eventually, he got sick with the spider bite and all that shit. But When I saw them with Gary Holt pulled that fucking band back together.
Oh, he was a maniac on stage.
Oh, man. But Gary Holt can play his fucking ass off.
Yeah, I have no personal issue with Gary Holt. The one time I did see them with him playing, it was good.
Yeah. But
like, Jesus.
But the thing is, I saw the Yankee Stadium show, and that was with Lombardo.
It doesn't get no better than that.
After that, like, Lombardo left, and I was like, you know what? I'm good with never seeing them again, because they were so on point at that Yankee Stadium show. Like, they were the best I've ever seen them. And, I mean, the first time I saw them was, like, Clash of the Titans.
Way back.
Yeah. So, I had seen them, you know, since, like, 1990, what was that, 91?
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, I'm good. Like, I don't need to see them again. But Metallica, I've seen them come with some real whack shit. But I've also seen them, especially the last couple of times I saw them, they were really on fucking point.
So my argument for why I wouldn't go see Slayer even at the end is that Slayer without Dave Lombardo is not Slayer. It's something else. It just doesn't sound right and doesn't feel right. Nothing about it is right. Even the stuff that he didn't even actually play on because he was no longer in the band sounded better with him on it than the people who wrote it. Like, he is the drummer of Slayer, whether they want to write him out or not. Like, they don't sound good without him.
They did some real dirt with him.
So,
but I, like I said, after that, I was good. Like, I didn't need to see them again. You know, I couldn't go to the farewell tour anyway because we actually played a show the night they played the Garden. And I was like, you know what? I'm not spending money to see them.
I'll say this. They were good on the farewell tours. Or the two shows I saw, particularly the one in Reading, like it felt like an old Slayer night again. Like they found, like there was a hint of that, like danger, like you like little, what the fuck is his name from The Simpsons? Like, haha, I'm in danger. Like, but also they had like a good lineup. It was like Behemoth, like Testament, well, Anthrax kind of like fucking was whatever. Like Lamb of God was tight, even though they played a lot of songs I didn't care about hearing, but like they had like a good like lineup. The second time that they came around, I only watched Slayer. Like I watched Cannibal Corpse. Cannibal Corpse played their farewell tour. I watched them from the lawn at the Tweeter Center, whatever the fuck they call it now, which is like a million miles from the stage, which was weird because it was light. It was daytime. Cannibal Corpse was playing, and they were 100 miles away from me. And then Slayer, and then that was it. And like, even if they came back, I'm good. I saw it.
Yeah, I won't go now.
I would have gone because of the undercard. Like, I was more interested in that than actually seeing Slayer. But even then, like, it's a lot of money to see a bunch of bands that I've seen before.
Yeah. Except
Behemoth. Like, I would have gone. Behemoth was probably the main reason why I would have gone. But I sat it out and I was fine with it because, like I said, Slayer at that point, it's like I've seen them so many times. And when I used to see, you know, the first time I saw Slayer was Clash of the Titans. The second time I saw them was the Nassau Coliseum with Testament opening up. And we were in like the 100 section just looking down at the floor. And they just ripped up all the chairs and put them in a giant pile. The ones that weren't flying around. And there were just fights and fights. You could see from up there, just dudes were getting mauled.
Dude, seeing Slayer play at the Electric Factory was Fight City.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roseland was the same way.
It was so much fun beating up Nazis at those shows.
Dude, so me, Tony, Dan, and a couple other friends all rode down in Tony's van to see Slayer. I don't remember who else was playing that show. I think it was Slayer, Sick of It All, and Meshuggah.
Gotcha.
It was, it was like April 1st, 1999, or April 4th, or I don't know. It was April of 99. And we ride down in Tony's like janky van, and we park, and he backed it in. And we go in, and we watch the show, we come out. This asshole left the lights on in his fucking van, and we needed a jump. I'm sitting in the hall, all the way in the back of the van, and they're like outside with the hood popped up. And some dudes come by and offer to give them a jump. They get the jump, but like nobody's like talking to me in the van. They put the hood down, and the guys walk off. And they jump in the van. They're like, "We have to go right now. Nazis just jumped the van." and like, if they catch you in the van, we're going to have a problem. And I was like, we could just get out and fight them. And they're like, no, we're leaving.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, that was a close one. But yeah, I mean, that show was one of my favorite shows of all time.
I felt bad for Slick of It All at that show, though.
Yeah, they got the Slayer boo.
Yeah.
But the floor still opened up for them, because I remember it was a lot of fun. And I know you were there, and Chris X was there, and Joe was there, and like, I mean, all the Philadelphia kids were there, and we showed out for that moment in time. But Sick of It All definitely got the Slayer boo.
Yeah, they did pretty well in New York, but I mean, you know, Slayer was playing arenas, and then at that point they went down, so they played Roseland, and the floor was just a fucking bloodbath.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I do remember seeing a certain past guest of the podcast who will remain nameless.
I can guess which one you're talking.
Definitely punching people in the face while other people held those people. And it was a bit of carnage, let's say. Yeah. There were just fights everywhere, like 10 pits just all around, and just people getting mauled everywhere.
So just to kind of wrap the whole day up, we all have been going to shows since the 90s. Kids these days seem to think that shows are violent, and they have no concept of what violence at a show actually is. Like, I go to these shows and I'm like, they're moshing, whatever, they're having fun, nobody's getting hurt here. Like, this is not a violent show by any stretch of the imagination. Because like, you tell me, oh, let me hear about a violent show. I'm like, well, how about the fucking absolute brawl at the Cro-Mags reunion at the Troc, where literally 70% of the crowd got thrown out? That was a fucking brawl. How about the time where someone from Scarhead that will remain nameless literally threw a fucking microphone and then jumped off the stage?
That's at the end of one of their records, so it's not really nameless. But go ahead.
Whatever. I'm not naming.
Yeah.
But like, how about Stickman threatening to beat up everybody in the Stone Pony if they didn't cut the fucking sound on, because they didn't want Furia 5 to play the show because like the pipe burst because somebody was hanging on it during VOD back in 95. Like, these kids don't have any concept of what it is to be around truly dangerous human beings at a time where you don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
Well,
and
listen, I'll give you one.
To watch.
I'll give you one right here. First hardcore show I ever went to, 91, they called it the Last Thrash Bash at L'Amour's. It was the Cro-Mags, Leeway, Biohazard, Typo Negative's first show under the name Typo Negative. They were Repulsion, and then they changed their name right before that show. White Zombie opened the show, and when all they had was Christmas lights on their fucking amps before Sexorcisto came out. A certain singer for a certain band who shall remain nameless, but is known to beat the fuck out of people, drags a long-haired dude by his hair to the men's room and throws him inside and goes in while a couple of bouncers from the club stand guard at the door. And then this person comes out and points back, and then the bouncers go in and carry the unconscious dude out of the bathroom.
Could never
And
happen.
shit like that used to go on all the time. I mean, that's eventually what closed L'Amour's, because the bouncers used to just beat the fuck out of people. But like, there were plenty of people that were regulars at the spot. They used to beat the fuck out of people, and then the bouncers would just clean it up. And like, there was no, security wasn't fucking with anybody. And like, even with the shows like at Roseland and shit, there used to be fights galore.
Oh, dude, I saw some wild shit going to Roseland back in the day. That and Wetlands. Just insanity. And you're just like, yeah, I think it would be safer for me to just step over this way because I don't have a dog in this fight and I'm not getting caught in it.
Because Wetlands, was a much smaller place, but they had limited security. So if some shit really popped off,
it was
popping off. Like,
done.
You're not going to be able to stop it.
Well, I could say most of these kids couldn't even handle, like, you go a little bit later, like the Chrome shows.
Yeah. Oh, no.
The All Out War Shadow Realm show at Chrome, like, forget it.
No.
Well, I talked about it on another show. How about the Shadow Realm, God forbid, Lamb of God show that happened in the big room at Chrome? And like, people are legitimately diving over the railing and beating the people on the second floor up just because. Like, there was at no point in a room that is as big as a basketball court space for you to be safe. There was not one safe spot in that room.
Yeah.
At any point during the night, it didn't matter what band was playing, people were getting fucked up. Actually, the most safe spot was dead in the center of the pit.
That, or like, you can even say Lamb of God's famous show at Planka Park.
Oh, God, that was fucking insane. And like,
kids these days, I mean, they go off.
They go off.
But it's not dangerous anymore.
It's sanitized.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, Sepultura at the Academy in Manhattan.
Yeah, even metal moshing's safe now. Back in the day, it used to be like they used to wear like studded boots for like a reason, because they wanted to like break people's kneecaps and shit. Like, people would just punch each other. It wasn't even like push moshing. It was like elbowing people in the face and shit. Like, the old Hessian mosh was violent. You used to see people walk out and bust it up all the time at those shows. Now it's just like they like kind of push each other and like run around in a circle. I'm like, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah, but those metal shows in the early mid 90s in New York, what would happen is, it's a metal show, but a lot of hardcore kids were down.
Oh, yeah.
So all of a sudden, like one of the craziest was Sepultura Chaos AD, and all crew dudes are all in the mix, and like all these cliques from all over the place, your Long Island clique and your Westchester clique and your Bronx clique, and and everybody's getting along. But then when something popped off, all of a sudden, you had like 3 crews chasing you.
Yeah, no good.
So like, you just saw dudes get beatings, especially like, and if it was metal dudes that were drunk and decided to pop some shit, they would pop
they
shit,
weren't
and
ready.
all of a sudden it's like 30-on-2, and they're like, oh fuck, and they are getting the beating of their life.
Yeah,
I saw that happen there. I saw it happen at Roseland plenty of times, like Pantera shows and shit. Because it's a metal show, but plenty of hardcore kids were going to those shows.
Yep.
Plenty of hardcore kids were throwing down at those shows. And if you didn't like the way they were dancing, you could get it.
Well, John Wren, getting old. You got to go to bed.
I
Go to work in the morning.
I get up 4 o'clock in the morning for work tomorrow.
Oh, cry me a river.
I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you at 4 o'clock in the morning.
My phone is on silent, baby. I don't care. Call me all you want. It will go to voicemail all day. You could call 4, 4:15, 5, 5:30. Call me as many times as you want. I will never hear it because my phone is flipped over, so the light doesn't even light up the goddamn room, and it's on silent. So go ahead, do it. Don't care. Because I'm thinking about people like you.
I'll pull a hat and just start singing Kill Switch to you at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
No, you know actually who made me start doing that? Brian Yin. Because I would always get to 2:30. Yo, bro, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sleeping. That's what the fuck I'm doing at 2:30. So I'm trying to get a fucking good night's sleep. So I started putting my phone on fucking complete silent and flipping it over so he wouldn't disturb me. And then over time, he stopped calling. Anyway, John Wren, got anything you want to plug?
No, I mean, there's nothing going on. Selfish Lover on Bandcamp, Spotify, whatever. I think it's half of it's like Selfish Lover XOXO. That's the Instagram handle. Selfish Lover at Bandcamp, Selfish Lover on Spotify. The album is called Voluntary Human Extinction. I don't think there's another Selfish Lover out there. I don't think anyone was dumb enough to name their band that. So that's the only thing I would plug. Check that shit out. That's the new project.
All right.
Awesome.
11 songs, barely 12 minutes of music. It'll only ruin your life for a little bit.
Unless you hit repeat, and then you can just continue to ruin your life.
Very true. Well, it's been fun, gentlemen.
Appreciate you being back on.
Yep. Thanks for coming on.
Soon.
For the first time, it's not the first time.
Yeah.
So the first time.
Yeah.
Yes. Something like that. All right. We're good. That is The Upgrade. TheUpgradePodcast.net to find links to our Friendster,
only on
MySpace, and
our Napster feed,
and SoulSeek, and all that good stuff. No, we will catch you again soon. Peace. Thanks for listening.
Take care, y'all.
Later.